So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Tapcaf Transmissions, our Star Wars book club. This is the first episode we're doing in several weeks because some people were getting married or something. I don't know.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. How'd the kidnapping go for that, though? Right? That's how that happens.
Yeah. So in Canadian tradition, as you know, you secure a gun of command. You point it at your unwilling victim/wife, and you just order them to marry you.
Well, they're not your wife at that point, right?
That's right. Yeah, they're not even your fiance. They're just a. That's why I used the term victim initially.
That's fair. All right. Well, we are talking about the courtship of Princess Leia. This is what, the 10th episode, I think.
Yeah, we're getting up there, aren't we?
So yeah, we are just going into the podcast. Would just be going into grade 7 or 8, I think. I don't know how aging works. Do we do one of these per year? Feels like it.
Yeah. Well, it's how long has it been? Has it been 3 weeks since the last one?
I think more than that.
4 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, it's been about a month.
I had the wedding and we had Canadian Thanksgiving and stuff, and you were traveling and I was traveling.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been pretty busy lads for a bit, haven't we?
Yeah. So many better things to do than reading Star Wars books, I guess. But
false.
The checks came through, so here we are.
Yeah, we've been waiting for our Lucasfilm shell books, and they
mine comes directly from Rian Johnson, so
okay. Yeah, I get mine from Kathleen Kennedy. It's weird because it's written in blood. I think it's Luke Skywalker's blood specifically.
His incel blood?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we wanted to talk about that briefly, right? Before we
the call, do we? I
don't know, maybe briefly. You don't want to.
If you want. Hey, it was your comment.
Sure. Before I do that, I just want to mention we're trying a new thing where a lot of podcasts do this. We'll talk a bit about news or whatever else before we get into the actual podcast discussion. So basically, we don't value your time, and we're going to waste it before we get to the meat and potatoes of it. Is that about right?
I value your time.
Okay.
As one of the cozier YouTubers, I appreciate every second people will spend on my channel. Justin,
is that how they measure the watch time?
Well, what I think happens is after you get the silver play button, you just stop caring, right?
I think that's how. That is probably about when it happened for me. But one thing that's been going around, and this was our first ever Tapcaf episode, so it's happened probably like nearly half a year ago at this point. We read The Truce at Bakura. It's the book immediately after the Battle of Endor. And in that book, Luke it's not arguable. He's an incel. He's a total weirdo in it. People thought that I was saying that Luke is always an incel, or that Luke is an incel of a character. No, he's just really weird in this one book. And yeah, I don't know. I think people were like took it very personally.
Yeah, he was acting like this woman that he just met basically owed him a relationship because he invaded her mind. And I guess
killed her old woman.
So there have been a lot of really shitty comments about that comment, which
fair
kind of which kind of missed the point of what we were talking about.
Yeah, and I guess if we're being technical, Luke wasn't really an incel yet. He's like, that would have been the experience that pushed him to become an incel.
Yeah.
Like, as Luke was flying away from Bakura, he was logging onto his Reddit account and like typing about how like short guys like him will never find a good woman.
Yeah, so we bring this up because tonight we're talking about only very healthy relationships as portrayed in Courtship of Princess Leia.
Yeah. And this book is pretty wild, but I like unironically love it. I just realized when I reread it again that I like legitimately love this book.
Yeah, a lot of the tone is it's probably the most like Star Wars tone that we've gotten out of any of the books.
Yeah.
Which at the end we'll talk about how we feel it stacks up against how many stack pulls it gets compared to the other books we've read. but I do think the overall tone was the most like the original trilogy was.
Yeah.
And the dialogue felt the most like the original trilogy. Take that however you want, but
it's also it's such a light read too.
yeah.
The one thing that I really noticed about it is that it reads almost exactly like a classic fantasy novel or short story.
Mhm.
Like this is like some Lord Dunsany shit. Like, but like especially because most of the book takes place on Dathomir. The stuff going on, the world building is really kind of secondary, like what the New Republic is doing. Most of it is just witches journeying across this like really lush planet, rival factions fighting. It's like, there's dreams and like evil wizards, and it's just very kind of like a classic high fantasy
Yeah.
story, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, there's a lot of good world building that actually goes into it as well. Um, and we'll probably start talking about some of the other themes later on. But one thing that I feel like this does much worse than the other books we've read is the space battles, which were such a focus in some of the other books that it's mostly yada yada in this.
Yeah.
Which so that'll be a bit different than what we've talked about.
Some of that has to do with the timeline, I think, of when this book was released. Because, so just to summarize, this isn't in universe chronology. This is when things were released. First, we have like when the soft reboot of the EU came out. We have Dark Empire and the Thrawn trilogy. Then the next sort of there were some of the there was like a couple of short stories and young reader books. Then there was Bakura, Jedi Search, and Courtship, all in '94. So despite the fact that this comes right after, we've talked about this a bunch of times, this comes right after the X-Wing and Rogue Squadron, and Rogue Squadron and Wraith Squadron trilogy or series. This is actually came out quite before them. So the universe was still pretty fresh. You get some of that in Bakura as well.
Yeah, and we do get some of the characters from the from Solo Command and the Wraith Squadron books back, like Melvar and Zinj. And Melvar reads a little bit differently than he did.
Yeah, he does.
Solo Command, and it's kind of interesting because, like, obviously this came first, but because of the order that we're doing this in, I kind of go in with my impression from Solo Command being the thing that takes precedence for them. Even though, like, really it should be the other way around if we were, as far as, like, who actually came up with the stuff. But
I mean, a lot of it slots in pretty nicely. Although they did kind of struggle with space battles, I think the world building in this book is pretty spot on. Like, they get the idea of warlords. One of the things that this book does that the X-Wing series doesn't do is it gives a more realistic sense of scale for everything.
Yeah, like there's
Zinj has
40 Star Destroyers over Dathomir.
Yeah. And it talks about the New Republic having hundreds of thousands of systems and stuff. And like you don't get that at all in the X-Wing series. Well, you do get it a little bit, but it really lacks. The X-Wing series has a very sort of small universe mindset to it, and this goes the opposite way. And I quite like that. It was kind of a nice change. But you're right with space battles. It's like they always talk about the Star Destroyers shooting torpedoes and stuff, and like
the scale is much better. But then you get like 2 sentences about the whole battle. Like it was just starting, and then suddenly Zinj is blown up.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah. Big boy dies.
Yeah. It's gonna look like I'm just staring at my phone a lot, but I have my notes for the episode are on. You can't see that, but my notes for the episode are on my phone. It's going to be a thing I'm trying here, so I am paying attention.
It is kind of interesting. So this we talked earlier, especially in Courtship, about how
we haven't really talked about much with Courtship yet, actually.
Or sorry, with Bakura, about how some of the early EU stuff really struggles with, especially Clone Wars era stuff, timeline, and the Jedi. And this book actually has some very explicit. It's got scenes that show Yoda as a Jedi Knight. It's got Luke trying to, he's starting to do his hunt of Jedi artifacts and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we see doesn't really match up, but I'm sure we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, it kind of makes Luke look like an idiot. Like, I've scoured the galaxy with no evidence of a Jedi Academy.
Have you looked on Coruscant, Luke?
He's just like staring out Han's window at the start, looking at the palace. Like, I've looked everywhere.
Yeah, Luke.
Well, obviously not that one.
Every other EU book is like they're accidentally stumbling across Jedi ruins. Like, Luke's like, God damn it! It's like I checked this asteroid. I checked this gas giant over here. I haven't found anything. But yeah. So this book actually sets up a lot of things that would be pretty prominent in the EU. I mean, I completely didn't realize this, but we get a Barabel name drop.
Yeah.
I don't know if they existed in West End games or something before this point. I'm kind of curious. I'm going to look it up now, but I was like, Barabel. And, for those who don't know, there's a very famous Barabel named Sabatine who appears. She's like basically Luke's second in command later on. And yeah, they basically get everything right. They're like a pack. I mean, they're only really you don't even meet one in this. They're kind of a small. I guess they were in Dark Force Rising. I don't remember that, but yeah, pretty cool.
Digos is just saying in the chat. He checked who maybe was looking for something stashed by Kakruk, but actually, like he's dealing with a Whipped Jedi's home in the first place. So apparently there were a lot of prominent Whipped Jedi, or maybe this was Kakruk's house and he was faking his death. That's a conspiracy theory we're gonna need to get into at some point.
We'll have to. I'll get our best researchers looking into that ASAP.
Get the interns on it.
Yeah, get the interns on it. But I mean, besides for that, like this book establishes the Hapins too. I don't know if they ever were mentioned in anything, but this book really fleshes them out. And of course, Dathomir.
I'm pretty sure they were introduced with this. Same with all the Night Sisters, because like it's all kind of set up to reinforce the themes and kind of show. Like you get Han kidnapping Leia, and it kind of all gets inverted with the way Hapen Society and Dathomir Society is set up, where it's like kind of set up to show like this is how we show that what they were doing at the start was also complete bullshit. I'm not going to swear anymore. I'm sorry, everyone. This is my official apology.
This is a Christian Star Wars stream, Corey. But yeah, sorry, I ruined your train of thought with my joke, I think.
My train of thought had pretty much pulled into the station with that. We'll probably cover it a bit more later, but
when I was reading this, though, I gotta say, I was kind of expecting there to be some sort of implied connection between the Hapins and the Dathomir witches, like both having matriarchal societies. But there is none. It's just kind of a coincidence. Yeah. But I mean, if this book came out today, oh my god,
yeah,
this would have been Disney SJW stuff. Like,
yeah, and the whole thing is like the feminist themes in the book aren't what people would think they are. Like, the idea of Hapes as a feminist society would only fit in what like the online non-understanding of feminism is, because the whole point of the book is like, no, they're all shitty, and like the kidnapping is terrible, the oppression from either side is terrible, but it kind of uses, like, a lot of people would leave the Han kidnapped Leia thing thinking, oh, that was just him doing what he could to protect the woman he loved, but it's like later on it's kind of like, no, it's bad when they do it, so look back at when he did it and it's bad then too.
Right, because we also see like
your voice is doing the deep thing again.
So for those who don't know, sometimes my mic really deep right now. Just a second.
Are we better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we even see people like sort of excusing the sort of power structure that they're in. Whether it's like Isolder basically saying that they could treat us a lot worse, all things considered. Or we have Millennial Joe basically saying, well, I wouldn't have harmed you at least, basically making excuses for like, you're right, that the message of the book just really is that any sort of like coercion like this is, really not okay. And it's kind of played up for laughs a little bit, I guess, because it's not a very serious book.
Yeah.
Like one of the last lines is like, that was darned spooky, which is appropriate for our Christian Minecraft stream. I almost said our Christian Star Wars stream.
Should we just be playing Minecraft during Tapcaf?
We should, yeah.
But this is also, since you're bringing that up now, this is also the introduction of the Baby Shark song.
Oh yes, very important.
When Zinj dies and releases all the baby sharks into the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting though, because it's a pretty good take on the lore and the world building. When, I mean, that's not super established by this point. So, baby sharks or not. I love how some Star Wars books will just say something like baby shark, but others will say like baby Star Wars word. Like,
I'm not sure which I prefer.
I think I prefer just, yeah.
Like, it's kind of, it doesn't fit when it's not the Star Wars word. But then the ones who will put in Star Wars word will generally go too far and use it too often, and that's how you end up with Akbar making 73 C references.
Yes. But the Aftermath trilogy from the new canon is like notoriously, well, I'm saying notorious, but I've never heard anyone else say it. It's just me. But Chuck Wendig does that, and it's so annoying. It's like, instead of saying, it's just like so many similes, like he ran like a Corellian thrash hound, and then I'll be like, she snorted like a Tatooine mud lizard. It's like every second word. It's just like,
what does that even mean?
yeah, exactly. And it's just, so I don't mind the occasional use of real world analogies. It helps me understand. I'm not too bright, so anything that can make it a little bit simpler, I'm good.
No comment. All right, so do you want to get into the plot of the courtship of Princess Leia?
Yes, I do. The beginning of the book is probably the most ridiculous part of it. So Han Solo is in charge of this armada that's been hunting a warlord across the galaxy. No one warns him that there's a massive fleet parked outside Coruscant, made up of Star Destroyers and Hapen battle dragons. So Han is returning back to Coruscant. He comes out of hyperspace, and there is just this massive armada around the planet, and he like almost open fires on the delegation of Hapens, which surely would have resulted in his death.
And I love that he starts taking evasive actions, but he's in Mon Ramonda. So picture this giant Mon Calamari cruiser like dipping and diving through all these Hapen ships. But,
and he says he like goes close enough to see somebody's face.
Yeah,
like
it would,
saw like, what?
That happens a few times. Like later on, when during the battle, when Luke and Isolder are coming off of Song of War and heading down to the planet, like they're in a dogfight in space, and yet Isolder keeps talking about how Luke is giving him thumbs up and stuff. And it's like, how are you seeing this?
Yeah, that's true. I do like the part where Isolder pulls out a heat blanket or whatever. It gets all cozy. I know it's to hide the. A lot of this book is about like life form detection. Like, there's a lot of like lip service given to scanners.
Yeah,
there's some like
I didn't really think about that.
Like, oh yeah,
everything is
finally
about
someone
scanners
understands
in this
us.
or in this book.
Yeah.
what do you mean we don't have scanners? Like, he gets like super pissed off about it at one point.
Yeah, you know, there's one point in like the Thrawn trilogy where like the gang's just walking down the street on some planet, and there's just somebody just like, scanners would have got them. This is bullshit.
I don't know. Actually, with how I play Empire at War, I'm always up for a good scanner. When you find the
True.
the sensor array, nothing's better.
Yeah, that's true.
But do we know how long after Solo Command this is? Is this like right after? For a couple months?
Well, I'm going to say it's pretty soon after because, well, Zinj has retreated. Don't they talk in Solo Command about Zinj retreating to Dathomir?
Yeah.
So I would assume that this is like a few weeks afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
but not much more than that. Because I think like Solo's returning basically like, it's not licking his wounds because he didn't get beat up, but he's like just frustrated. He's like in the same mindset in Solo Command where he's just really frustrated because nothing is getting done. They're not making any progress. They like destroy or they injure the Iron Fist, but they don't destroy it. Speaking of, before I forget, there's a little interesting thing I noticed about this book when I was reading it. At the end, so when they come out of hyperspace at first, the Iron Fist is like in dock, right? But I don't think they actually call it the Iron Fist. Don't they just call it a Super Star Destroyer?
In Courtship?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they call it Iron Fist by name until closer to the end of the book. I don't think.
Yeah, because at the end of the book, they don't actually refer to the ship that Zinj is in as a Super Star Destroyer, just a Star Destroyer.
Yeah. They refer to him. They refer to Han having destroyed his Super Star Destroyer.
Right.
And then Iron Fist is referenced almost as if it's a different ship.
Yeah, which is interesting because I listened to the audiobook for this one too, and at the very end, I mentioned this to you, but it's not the Iron Fist that Zinj is in. He's in a different ship, one they call the Sovereign, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that book has it, it compresses some stuff. When the Song of War arrives, it does like it does this in the book too. It does a strafing run on the Super Star Destroyer. Basically, does all this damage that Han couldn't do for this entire time, and it's basically suggested that he pretty much just destroys it. And I don't know if that's like what is intended in the original book too, because I think the Iron Fist is supposed to be just a random ship, and then the X-Wing series seems like it kind of changed that a little bit, maybe, but I'm not 100% sure. Something to pay attention when I do another read through.
Yeah, and when you sent me the Sovereign thing, like we talked about it a bit already offline, but no one can read that. So
I've been leaking all our conversations.
Oh, okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah,
but that led to, I think, some stuff on Wikipedia for a while where the Sovereign class Super Star Destroyer was referenced as being affiliated with Zinj in a few places.
Right.
And that was just not factually accurate.
Just stupidity, yeah.
Yeah. So don't always listen to Wikipedia or Star Wars YouTubers, everyone.
Or Star Wars abridgments, also.
Or Screen Rant articles about Star Wars comics.
No, always listen to those.
Oh, okay.
I liked your video you did on that, by the way.
I should take that down if people should listen to those.
That's one thing we should have discussed before. Like, we should just talk about stuff like that before the episode.
Plug our other videos.
Well, not other videos, just like that situation, for example.
That'd be a good talk. So we'll write that down for next time.
Yeah.
But in general, we are trying to think of ways to kind of plug the podcast a bit more and sort of expand a little bit from what we do. We don't want to like have an hour-long conversation about news before getting into the book. That we'd prefer to have an hour-long conversation about like irrelevant crap, apparently. But
yeah, exactly. Like the problems with Wikipedia.
That's
we could do a long
important
podcast about that.
Yeah, if we ever run out of Star Wars books in 4 years, we can just keep going with that.
It's not possible.
We'll choose a Wikipedia article every week. We'll do a podcast about it.
One thing we should have talked about is a new Thrawn trilogy coming out. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, the Ascendancy trilogy.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd like to do is, in the lead up to that getting released, maybe do the other 3 canon Thrawn books, and then
Yes.
do that episode, like do the following episode after it comes out on Ascendancy Book 1. I think that would be fun.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so you guys heard it here first. In an indeterminate, have they done a release date for it yet? I think it just mentioned next year for the first one.
I think they might have said 2020.
Yeah. But yeah, so at some point that will be a thing we read.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a new book coming out too in the new canon about basically them trying to get new warships and stuff, which sounds right up our alley.
Yeah.
Before episode 9, which is kind of what the Allegiance comic is handling. I swear to God, because the Allegiance comic is all about them going to Mon Calamari to get new capital ships and stuff. It would be such a new canon Star Wars thing for them to do, to go all 4 issues and not even show a capital ship. There's just such a thing they would do when the first line of like the thing is, the Resistance has traveled to Mon Calamari to get new capital ships. And it's gonna end without us seeing it. I know it. It's just gonna piss me off. I'm just gonna be ranting and raving about it online, and someone at Disney is just gonna have a jot down in their notepad for reasons never to work with me, and they're gonna add that to it.
You think that list exists?
I don't know, man.
Like,
Disney's
I have
pretty
it,
crazy.
but so far it hasn't been in long enough to not be worth it. But
yeah, yeah. I think it exists somewhere.
Like 9 out of the 10 reasons I have written down are crystal clear, whatever the hell it's called. So
okay, that's not me. That's Charlie. That's not fair.
Fair.
Okay. So they arrive on Coruscant, and this orbiting fleet is the Hapens, and the Hapens are basically they're not a race, because they are humans, or at least near humans, but they're basically a faction that's isolationist. They've been hiding away and basically in this rift for 4,000 years, they say, which is actually, that's not a bad number considering we didn't really have a history at this point.
Yeah.
Dave basically just made that number up. It just happens to work. They're very isolationist, but they're also very wealthy. There's like 60 planets. Is it 63, I think, in total?
Yeah.
And
63 inhabited worlds.
Oh, right. Because there's more.
Yeah.
Because at one point, Isolder dreams of being on an uninhabited world. But they're extremely wealthy. Like at one point, they bring jewels, and someone says each one of these jewels could have bought a Mon Calamari cruiser. So.
Yeah, they're introduced. We kind of see it from Han's point of view, where there's like a long procession of all these Hapen gifts coming out towards Leia. And the last gift is an 80s romance novel that kind of sprung to life in the form of Princess Isolder. Yeah, Fabio.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, I do like that at one point they also give them Star Destroyers, which is cool.
Yeah, I was actually planning to write a song parody of Prince Ali, but I didn't have time. And I wasn't sure how that would play if I was spending like 3 minutes singing a bad parody song on the podcast. So maybe next time, but
yeah,
because the first time I did that that movie cover of "She's Just Not That Into You," and I was hoping to get something like that each episode, and so far I have not kept up with that.
Well, get it done. Oh, what's going on?
Honestly, I didn't even read the book this week. So.
On the Spark Notes, thankfully Johnny had to read this book for grade 7.
It's those interns I was talking about. But this is
So
all a set of gifts for Leia to marry into the Hapen royal family, marry Princess Isolder, who had seen her and fallen in love from afar, convinced his mother, Ta Chum, to... Which it's kind of unclear what part of that is her name, what part of that is a title, or if any part is...
I'm pretty sure Ta Chum's her name, isn't it?
Well, I think Isolder refers to her as like in his thoughts as the Ta-Chum,
Right.
and then because Isolder is the Chum Da, so
Yeah, right,
it
you're
might be
right.
like Ta-Chum, like Ta is her name,
And that's
Chu,
what
but
yeah, because that's what's her name is Alana, or not Alana. Yeah,
Tenel Ka?
Alana's the Tachum later too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, she is the matriarch of the queen of the Hapen Society, which is organized as a matriarchal society, and where women have all the power. So Isolder is sort of he sees his power as being able to choose the next queen mother, and he talks about that later in the book, where he's saying like, men may be oppressed here, but really I have the power because I get to pick. And Leia's like, yeah, that.
Yeah, and what's her name?
That's nice too.
Colonial Joe just straight up laughs at him.
You're an idiot.
Like, you are so dumb. That was a really good scene.
Yeah. But yeah, so romance novel walks out.
Yeah.
Leia's like blown away. Han is immediately threatened and asks Mon Mothma what's going on. And Mon Mothma's like, yeah, your girlfriend should totally marry this dude.
I do like how it does a good job of like reminding me of what it's like to be like in like 7th grade, and like
Yeah,
the girl you have a crush on has a crush on someone else. I was like, man, I kind of feel for Han. Like, and he's like just seeing it happen and there's nothing he can do about it.
But I'd feel more sorry for everyone in this book if they didn't continue to act like 7th graders who were heavily armed for the rest of the book.
Well, speaking of heavily armed 7th graders, in the end, Jason Solo kills both Ta-Chum and Prince Isolder. So
I forgot that he killed Isolder.
Yeah, he like kills him pretty brutally. I forget if he cuts him in half or decapitates or breaks his neck. I think he breaks his neck. So in the end,
I mean, I
Solo, Zsinj,
understand
and
disliking
Solo
your
family wins
in-laws,
out.
but like, come on.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird too because later, the Solos adopt Alana, who is Isolder's granddaughter, and Leia basically becomes her mother instead of her grandmother. And she's like, oh, you would have been my grandmother either way, whether you married Isolder or not. Because, like, one way it could have been she could have married it. Anyway, we're going too far deep into Hapen family bloodlines, but...
Well, both of Tenel Ka's parents try to get with a Skywalker sibling, so...
Right. Yeah, true.
There's a lot of interesting stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the last half of the podcast will be getting real deep into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mon Mothma tells Han that it'd be great for the Rebel Alliance if Leia married a... Do we really need to talk about much with what Luke is doing here? Because he's the next chapter, and there's a few chapters with him, but he's really
let's just here. I'll explain what happens. Luke does nothing. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, he tries to get home, find Leia. He's looking for Jedi artifacts. Basically, everything he was doing off screen in the X-Wing series. Imagine he's doing that now, but he gets chapters devoted to it.
But we still learn just as much.
Pretty much. No, we learn less because we at least got Corran Horn being a Jedi, or being Force sensitive, and the grandson of a Jedi out of the X-Wing stuff. Where out of this, we get the Jedi magic school bus crashing on Dathomir.
Yeah, and Luke's a really poor Miss Frizzle too, because he's really aggressive with Isolder. Listen, bud, follow the Force. Isolder's like, no, I don't think. He's like, shut up.
Well, he explicitly says, it's great to have a student where I don't have to worry about him going to the dark side.
Isolder's like, in 15 seconds I've become a student of Luke. Like, don't know how much I'm feeling this.
It's like a Zap Brannigan, Kif Kroker situation.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it's like. And Luke has a bunch of weird Force powers here too. He flies on 2 occasions.
A lot of people fly in this.
Yeah. He can this is the first time we see Luke's party trick that he does throughout Legends, where he looks somebody in the eyes and figures out their name, which I always love because he does that even like really later on. He'll be like, he'll look someone in the eyes and be like, Commander, he'll be like, Johnson. The guy will be like, what the hell?
They look down and notice their name tag.
Like, oh crap!
We don't know they don't wear one.
Yeah, that's true. And then he kind of has like there's like a force power that they added later on that Quinlan Voss has. It's like psychometry, I think it's called, where you can kind of like sense the things that have happened in a space. And Luke does that when he goes to Han's shabby little apartment, and he's like, "Oh, Han seemed pissed."
It's almost like flow walking, but less useful.
Yeah. Interestingly, the character in Fallen Order, the new Star Wars game, has that as well. It's a rare force power. No, it was the
psychometry.
Yeah.
Leia. So that's when Leia invites Isolder to dinner, or reverse. They end up going to dinner together, or the invite gets sent out, so they can get to know each other. Because getting married off of never having met each other, that's unreasonable. Having dinner together first before you decide, and then maybe spending a couple days together, that is responsible dating, everyone.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's much better if you imagine this being they're asking each other to junior prom instead of getting married.
Oh, that just makes the whole book make so much more sense.
Yeah, right? And instead of it happening on like Dathomir, it's like happening on a field trip to like the zoo.
Field trip to like an forest nature reserve.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, there was one time I was at a place called Camp Mush Mush in grade 6.
Camp Mush Mush?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you Google it, you'll probably find it. It's in where I live. But I asked this girl, her name was Megan, she's a real fox. At the time, it was grade 6. Right now, yeah. I thought when I was in grade 6 that she was a real fox. I asked her to prom, and she said yes. It's like, oh, sweet. And then I go back.
Prom?
Yeah, we had grade 6 prom. It was really lame. But anyway.
Damn.
I go back to her cabin because it was separated guys and girls, right? I go back to her cabin. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm actually gonna go to prom with Ben."
Wow,
Ben was my best friend, dude.
Wow, this is.
And then I was so sad. I took off crying. I ran through the woods instead of walking down the main trail. And when I was running, one of my boots got stuck in the mud, and it stayed when I ran. And then I fell over into the mud, and I wanted to go home.
That's rough, buddy.
Yep.
What a dick move.
Yep. Not impressed. I'm still friends with Ben. He gave me a wedding gift, and I'm like, kind of don't want him to get too close to my wife.
Don't go on any field trips with him.
Yeah.
If he tries to come on the honeymoon, then that's a bad sign.
Yes, agreed. Anyway, now that I just need to get that out. I was waiting for an episode when that would be relevant. It's just been weighing on me.
I'm just trying to look through my notes and see what that segues well into, but I got nothing.
The part where Han tries to kill himself. Okay.
Right. Wow, that's got even worse.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so they're gonna have dinner together. Then I've written. Well, we haven't talked about Threkenhorn.
Such an annoying name because it's so close to Horn and so close to Thraken.
I'm always thinking Hecken when I read his name.
Okay.
He's such a Heckenhorn, which is funny to me.
Huh.
But this guy is a real Hecken douche because everything he does is horrible. Everything that a lot of characters do in this book is kind of horrible, but he's arguably the worst.
He's basically like one of those people from WALL-E. You ever seen WALL-E?
I haven't, but I understand the premise enough that I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, humans are in space and they've all got really lazy and fat, so they're just in like repulsor chairs.
Yeah.
And that's basically him.
Yeah, they do talk about him standing at one point and that being like a big Big deal.
Yeah. Like, holy shit, this fatty can stand? What?
But Han immediately decides that because Isolder has expressed interest in Leia, he's out of the picture. Leia's considering it because it's a lot of money and power for the New Republic that they need to help beat the Warlords.
Right.
But he immediately gets like super pouty and hard to be around, really helping his case for why Leia should stay with him or choose
One
him.
sad boy.
And just Isolder is kind of put forward as like this perfect specimen of a man, both physically and like so polite and dashing.
I imagine
and
myself when reading it.
Well, every time Isolder said something, I hated the guy. There's nothing he
So you
said
imagine
that there was nothing he said that was like, I can see why everyone likes him. It's like, they describe how polite he's being, how how he's like just super chivalrous, and then he says stuff and it's basically just like, I farted in the hallway on the way in.
The only moment that really wins him over for me is when he's like, they get the assassination reports and he like doesn't blame Han and he assigns half his team to protect Leia. I was like, okay, maybe not a terrible guy.
Well, he was thinking that was his aunt, right? That sent the assassins after Leia.
It was his mom.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, but
nasty lady.
We get a scene fairly early on about how Isolder's security captain Astarta has intercepted the some sort of transmission or note to some assassins who are supposed to kill the Temptress, I think is the word they used. But yeah, so before the dinner, Han is all pouty working on the Millennium Falcon, and Isolder comes to see him so they can have a nice one-on-one. And Isolder, in exchange for Han just running away and never speaking to Leia again, offers him, I think he offers him like a battle
Nova
dragon.
Cruiser.
Was it Nova Cruiser? Yeah.
Yeah, a Klingon warbird.
Yeah. So, would that have come with a crew, or was he just going to be like Han and Chewie?
Yeah, I was like, is Chewie
a 400-meter cruiser themselves?
Yeah, I mean, plus he's already in command of. That was before he resigns his commission. He's already in command of the Mon Ramonda, so.
Well, it seemed like Isolder wanted Han to like leave society as a whole.
Yeah.
So true. Han would no longer be able to say we truly live in a society.
You okay, Joker? Jesus.
Was the actual dinner? Yeah, the dinner comes right after that, where they get introduced, and Threkken's watching them be mean to each other in the ship, and is afraid it's going to come to blows. And then Isolder's at dinner. Han shows up like an hour late for some reason, because he's really making a great impression right now.
Yeah, of course. And he basically just starting shit. He's like chatting shit, and then he gets really anxious and is like, almost leaves.
Yeah, he doesn't handle this kind of pressure very well, apparently.
No, he doesn't. It's literally just like, I was reading this, and I was like, remembering what it like. I'm not memeing here. I was remembering what it felt like to be in like 6th grade again.
Yeah.
Yikes.
This is really recontextualizing the whole book for me.
Yeah.
Making me hate the characters less for those actions.
Yeah. Dave knew what he was doing, bud.
He was writing an elementary school romance novel.
With lots of breasts in it. There are lots of breasts. Sometimes you gotta pay extra attention, but they're there.
No, I did pick up on that. It's not a subtle thing you have to really look out for.
No.
There's often even, quite literally in your face.
There's sexual tension too, even like among
Luke and Leia, which is, I thought, overdone in the first movie. But
Luke and Leia and Isolder and his bodyguard Astarta. He's like, she clearly wanted me. I was like, ooh.
Well, there's also the scene between Tatum and Luke with Isolder watching. It's like,
Oh yeah.
my mom's totally trying to do this guy.
He's like, yeah, he basically says, mom's still old, but she can still get it. I think that's exactly the words he says.
No, that's a verbatim quote right there.
Yeah. Yeah, mom's still old, but she can get it. And there's lots of scenes like discussing like the slit of their dress showed their whole leg. It's like it's more tastefully done than Rogue Squadron, at least.
Yeah.
Where it's not like her breasts were in my face.
Corrin was peering down the V of her sweater.
Yeah.
She had an 8 out of 10 rat.
Not quite as firm as Yella's, but way better than,
These are the second best boobs I've seen in this chapter. It was a weird thing for Corrin to say, but...
Yeah. Mirax was hung like a bantha.
But, yeah, so Han decides that his best move here is to start gambling, and with a down payment on his Honda Civic, he's able to gamble up to millions and billions of credits and a planet.
And C-3PO doesn't understand the gambler's fallacy, which I found surprising.
Yeah, that comes up a lot in Star Wars, where there's a lot of mention of odds by people who don't understand odds.
Yeah.
Where, like, the fact that he's won the previous rounds doesn't impact his odds of winning the next one. You can bring that up before he starts gambling if you want.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, exactly. If it's you and another guy, your chances of winning aren't 1 in 10 million. They're like, if all cards are equal, 1 out of 2.
Yeah. Is this before or after he goes to 3PO for the dating advice? I think it's before. I might have this down the wrong way in my notes, but there's basically 2 parts of Han's attempt to win Leia over before kidnapping her, where one is talking to 3PO for advice, and the other is winning the planet. Because basically, the Alderaanians have one of the through plots for like a lot of the post-Endor books is finding a new home for the remaining Alderaanians.
Yeah.
And Han wants to win this planet in a Sabacc game, which is what he goes in hoping to do, pretty much, or being able to afford one at least, because you can buy them.
I guess.
So that he could give Leia somewhere for the Alderaanians to live, and then she wouldn't need to marry Isolder. One of the reasons that she wants to marry Isolder is so the Alderaanians would have somewhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's no longer a factor, then he's thinking maybe Leia will stay with me. But there's some good symbolism here where Han is clearly acting like a jealous idiot and not really listening to what Leia has to say about anything. And the way he wins the Sabacc game was with his cards in the dark suit, which is, as a non-Force user, Han goes to the dark side. So...
Someone took university English class, because I was like, oh, Han's playing cards.
Well, there's a lot of symbolism in this book.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if I were in grade 12 English, I had a teacher, she was all about dicks and stuff, finding dicks in books. In this book, I feel like there's a lot of penile imagery.
Valerie, actually, that is one that I came up with on my own, but this is a good point to plug that, I think. But Valerie, one of the concept artists for Thrawn's Revenge, which is the mod I run for Empire at War, ran a blog with a bunch of notes on Star Wars books, and one of the things that she did was a piece on the world building in symbolism in Courtship of Princess Leia. So I'll put that in the description or the comment.
Sounds awesome.
But
I'd love to read that.
I can put a link in the I'll put a link in the chat as well. But she talks about a lot of that stuff as well.
Thank you, Valerie. That sounds very interesting. I've never read an essay about a Star Wars, like an actual proper. So I'm pretty pumped.
I made sure to wait until after I read the book before reading it, so that I would at least get my own thoughts to start with and not be influenced too much. But I can tell it's good because I agreed with most of it.
There you go.
And that's how I know all ideas are good. It's how much does it confirm my own
Your
preconceived
pre-existing
notion?
worldview, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a link in the chat, and I'll also put one in the description. There's a few other posts she did on some other books as well. So if anyone wants to look into that, it's really well done.
Cool.
But yeah, so
yeah, he wins the planet. We get a Kalumai in the scene, and they're one of my favorite aliens.
Are those the like the stereotypical alien aliens?
Yeah, they're like the ETs in a power
brains?
suit, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good. There's a Drakmarian, a Kalumai, and what else was he gambling against? Was it Godel?
Oh, what's a Godel? Yeah, Godel, the same one from earlier.
Yeah, and the Godel was
Which
on
is
his
really
team.
unfair that the Godel's there, because the Godel is like reading their mind, basically.
Yeah, that's like gambling against a Jedi. It's really illegal.
Yeah.
There ought to be a law.
What book is it again where they're... Is this one we read where they talk about how they... Oh, yeah, in Plagueis, there's that scene where they talk about how they prevent Jedi from gambling, or using the Force and gambling.
Yeah, when Palpatine or Plagueis is hunting down a new apprentice.
Yeah, it's when Plagueis is going to... It's when he's, like, doing those 3 little random missions. Remember, he, like, goes to the water planet, whatever, or he hunts down... Yeah. He finds the shapeshifter, the Shiadu, I think. I think it's a Shiadu, I can't remember.
Yeah, the next chapter after winning the planet, unless there's anything else you want to add about the Sabacc game.
No.
It
was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was actually longer than any space battle in the book. But I liked it a lot more than a lot of the space battles, so I was fine with that. But yeah, so after that, Han is going to C-3PO for dating advice, which is like
big brain move, this one.
That's what I call a good idea. And 3PO decides to like woo her with a song.
Yes. I straight up love C-3PO in this book.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Should I read the poem?
Yes, you should. Well, you should sing it, but if you're not willing to sing it, you should read it.
I feel like, well, is it going to be better if I sing it or if I make it really intense, like slam poetry reading?
Yeah, slam poetry, I think.
No, I'm not going to do that. When lightning rushes over the evening plains, I return to my cold den with a Thula rat in my jaws. Then I smell your sweet spore, smeared on the bones by my cave's maw. Then my head fins begin to tremble, and my tail sways majestically as my mating howl begins to fill the hollow of the night. All 500,000 lines of it are amazing.
It's actually a really sexually charged book, considering it's about some little critter, or story considering it's about some little critters.
Yeah, that's why we need to give it the official Stackpole rating.
Yeah. Not quite as hot as a furry lovemaking session, but still pretty good.
Yeah, this is no Salonian allergy situation.
Yeah. So we were talking about the beginning of the podcast too, for those wondering. But yeah, and then he's got another poem later on that he writes himself, which is rather impressive. He's really trying. C-3PO is really trying in this book to help Han out, which I thought was pretty endearing. And Han too, there's a point where like he's like C-3PO is like, "Oh, just leave me and the Falcon to die." And Han's like, "Oh, I kind of like the droid."
Or no, he doesn't hate him as much as he thought he would.
He liked him. He was being stubborn.
No, but they said it in the book. So whatever any character says has to be officially the truth, right?
Yes. So what happens after that? Han just continues to get pissed. Leia like embarrasses him kind of because he thinks that this planet's somewhere, but it's actually in the Queliover sector, which is where Zinj is hanging out.
Yeah, Leia's response to the whole thing is like, it's
She's
pretty terrible.
dickish. Yeah.
It's like, Han brings her this gold-plated box. Let's not sleep on that.
Yeah.
With a deed to a
no,
planet.
it's not gold-plated. It is gold.
Sorry, solid
Yeah.
gold box.
Yeah.
With a deed to a planet in it. And she's like, oh, that's nice, dear. It's in a terrible location.
Yeah. Like,
Like,
what a hag.
It's
Right?
just everyone in this book is just not great.
Yeah, there's not nice people.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's not feeling that, and then he's like, "All right, I'm just going to kidnap her."
That was
like after.
It was a total Megan move by her.
Yeah, because she's about to. So she's about to go off to Hapes as well. Then for like 6 months, isn't it?
Was it? It was either 1 or 6 months, but a while.
Yeah.
And clearly the implications, like their relationship, whatever it was over. Which, to be fair, when the book came out, hadn't really been established as being part of other media. But when you add in the context of all the books which came out after it, it's like, no, they were pretty well established as a couple.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it doesn't really work in retrospect, but
yeah, it just makes Leia, the more books you add in worth of context, the worse it looks for Leia. Up till this point, then Han just like goes off the edge of scumbag behavior. So
yeah, so when basically with the threat of her leaving and probably never coming back, Han just steals her. He just takes her.
Well, we don't want to skip past the Alderanian Council meeting here to the kidnapping and felony charges.
Right. Yes. This part made me roll my eyes the first time I read this book. I still remember because I thought so. Basically, C-3PO is looking for some way to get Han into Leia's good graces, and he does this research, and he thinks that Han is actually the rightful king of Corellia. It is Corellia, right? Yeah. He's the rightful king of Corellia.
And I forgot when reading this that it was overturned by the end of the book.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh god.
That's how I felt when I first read it. I still remember.
Yeah. And when 3PO is bringing this up, they're very upset that a droid is going to speak at the Alderanian Council meeting. And then he does get to speak, and all the droid reporters are like losing their shit.
Yeah. Someone in the back is like, let him speak. He's like, oh shit, okay. He's like, it's funny too because he like basically Threkin doesn't want to be seen as like a racist, basically.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want those droids' rights people on my back. So, or droids' rights droids, I guess.
Yeah. So 3PO basically tells everyone that Han's ancestor, one of I think his great grandfather or grandfather or something, was the rightful king of Corellia, but overthrown. What actually happened was they were a fraud, and Han got really embarrassed by it because he knew that 3PO was wrong. And Han is kind of approaching the whole thing as like, how can I prove that I'm materially on the same level as Leia? And it's kind of showing like two different perspectives of how Isolder and Han are ignoring what Leia actually wants. Where if Han had just been listening, like Han kind of, until the point where he kidnaps her, kind of gets it better than Isolder did, where at least he understood like the reason that she's contemplating this is because she wants, like, to her, what she wants is not as important as what the New Republic or Alderaan needs. And Han kind of gets that, but then he also like acts like really horribly about it. Whereas for Isolder, it's all just like, this is what I want, and how can I pay for it? And Han
Isolder has the same issue too. Later, when he's like kind of grappling with, you know, just dating some random lady from a backwater planet, you know.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they both kind of have to work with. It's like more of, you know, it's more of the feminist critique of the coming through with the power structures and stuff.
Mhm. After the Auto-Reigning Council meeting, we get a nice intimate scene with Leia and Isolder. And they're talking about what they're going to do. And Leia contemplates saying that she loves him. Which happened really fast.
And then he says it.
He says it. And this happens kind of throughout the book, where it's like, even though by the end, they've kind of progressed into like Tenennial and Isolder almost like being a couple. There's a weird four-way love triangle going on where they're all kissing each other.
Yeah, and the thing with Tenennial is like she shows like almost no interest in him. Besides like the basic, she thinks he's attractive.
Yeah.
She shows a lot more interest in Luke. But I guess that's more because she thinks that he'll basically be a good fit for her like family, I guess.
Yeah.
Or for her clan.
And
so another structure.
Isolder was like her safety net because he allowed himself to be captured. There was a lot of mixed signals going on, and what a comedy of errors it was.
Right, and we don't even see him. We don't even see Isolder be captured. I don't think, do we? Because we're with Luke.
Yeah, it kind of happens off screen, and then we get back and suddenly, oh hi Isolder, how do you get here?
So it's that was I had a bit of a problem with that because they talk about that a lot, but it was kind of lost on me.
Well, we sort of do get it with the rope. We get that scene, but it's kind of after he's already effectively in her custody. And there's a few times that the timeline setup is kind of weird with the book, especially when Luke and Isolder are heading to Hapes, or to Dathomir rather, and Han and Leia have already been on Dathomir for like 3 chapters. Like they get to Dathomir, the frigate starts crashing towards the planet. They've already crashed, and they've basically already met the Singing Mountain Clan. But then we get to Luke and Isolder's next chapter, and they get to Dathomir, and they watch the frigate go down to the planet. Yeah. When you could just as easily switch chapter 11 and 12. Yeah. And it would have made more sense.
Because it happens at the same time. It kind of works, though, because the whole thing is whether Luke can beat them through hyperspace with his powers.
Yeah, but we already know he can't because they're...
Right.
We saw the outcome like 3 chapters ago.
Well, he can't beat them, but he can, like, match them. Because he gets there at the same time, basically. I saw in your notes that you said you thought it was a strike cruiser. I figured it was a Nebulon B. Because it talks about a big engine section and a narrow walkway.
Yeah.
Connecting to the guns. Yeah, so I was like, probably Nebulon B.
But yeah, Han goes on this weird mission to get the transponder codes from Zinj's Y4s, the Raptor transports.
Right.
And he also resigns from his commission, gets the gun of command, tells Leia he wants to talk to her. They're going to meet, and then he shoots her with the mind-warping gun.
Yeah.
So not a great look for anyone.
No.
And so Leia's not impressed. Han really should have tanked any chance at a relationship with Leia from doing this.
But... Yeah. And they're like flying together because he's taking her to the planet, and he's like, "Why are you so mad at me?" He's like, "I made you supper, didn't I?" He's like, "Yeah, you kidnapped me as well."
He's acting like he's just being his lovable scamp self, and it's like, no, this is definitely a felony.
Yeah, though, if you watch Empire Strikes Back with some sort of modern understanding of consent, the way he kind of that doesn't necessarily hold up either.
Yeah.
It's even worse than Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I didn't understand what Leia and Han were doing in that movie, but...
Did you know, like, George Lucas originally intended, what's her name from Indiana Jones to be, like, 13 when Indy and her had a relationship? What's her name again?
I haven't actually seen many Indiana Jones movies.
Okay,
I think I've seen 2, and I'm not sure which 2, because we watched them in class.
Yeah. Oh, what?
But we watched one of them in class. We watched one of them in like first year university. Like my friends and I watched it, but
Marion, right? Sorry, chat. Well, we got to watch it and maybe talk about it because I think you'd really like them.
maybe the Shia LaBeouf one.
Lucas and Spielberg and casting were joking. I don't think so. Di. Maybe, but she said she was just a child. We should watch them. And there's also an Indiana Jones expanded universe too.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
everything's an expanded universe now, so that doesn't actually surprise me. We could do like a stream where we live watch it and give. We could do MST3K.
Yeah. That would be sweet.
But
just
legally distinct.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the real literature. Return to the Courtship of Princess Leia.
Right, Leia wakes up and is on her way to capture Dathomir.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is when Han's like, spend 7 days with me, which is like just a reminder this whole book happens over the course of 6 days. Then,
Yeah.
and
well,
feels really depressing.
initially it seems like it's 7 days, but it takes them a week to get there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from
So,
here on, it
yeah.
takes.
Yeah. So it's pretty quick, especially because like a lot of times they talk about the journey being 2 days. Like I think it's a 2-day journey to the prison, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah.
So whatever it is, it's like 6 days from now till the end of whenever Leia says, "Well, I still have a day left, and you won me over, Fly Guy."
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, that's Anakin, isn't it?
Yeah.
An Ahsoka thing.
No, that's Sky Guy.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Han makes the dinner that you're talking about. Doesn't take his apron off before sitting down for dinner, which is like the biggest faux pas of this.
Doesn't pour the extra wine.
Han is just batting zero right now.
I know.
And then flies into a ship and gets them to crash land.
Yeah, I actually kind of feel bad for him at that point because I'm like, oh my god, things are going so poorly for him.
I'm pretty sure in the audiobook version, this is when the Curb Your Enthusiasm song played.
Yeah. Basically, no, the audiobook version came out before that show even. Old ass audiobooks. Also, it's really funny when you listen to the audiobook because it's like this the narrator just doesn't put like a lot of, I don't want to say he doesn't put a lot of effort, it's just audiobooks were different back then. It's like his Han impression is just really like, it's a caricature and it's really funny. So like,
why don't we go to the thing, princess?
Basically, so like some of the lines are just like, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that happens, we cut back to Luke a few days earlier, basically right after Leia's been kidnapped, and Luke starts looking for where Leia could have been taken to, along with Isolder, or he kind of teams up with the Havens later, but he goes to Han's apartment first, and my only note for this is Luke licking walls. It read a really weird way where he was like feeling the pillows and then getting the moisture from the walls or something.
Sniffing Han's underwear.
Yeah. Pretty much.
He's not eating very well.
10. I'll see if I can find, because it was just it painted a strange picture for me.
Yeah.
Or that might have been chapter 9. Yeah, chapter 9. A trace of manic glee of hope. You could feel Han's desperation on the pillow.
Oh, gross.
So
feel Han's desperation. Ugh.
So yeah, that wasn't great. But yeah, so Luke is trying to feel up the force and find out where Han was intending to go. And that's kind of what you were talking about with the Quinlan Voss powers. And I guess we'll just cover like he ends up tracking it down to the Drakmarian lady who gave Han the rights to the planet, and she's getting shaken down by 3 Hapen soldiers.
Yeah.
And they're basically ready to torture her to get the information out of her. Yeah. Luckily, Luke comes up and then Shum comes up and is like, oh, well, I'd never tell them to do that. Thank you so much for stopping them.
Yeah. And they're like, excuse me?
But you told it. I said. But so the Drakmarian gives them the information on where on Dathomir, and Shum already has the information pretty much.
Yeah.
Because Drakmarian thinks that Luke, which is his party trick, coming back up.
Yeah.
But this is where we get the scenes back with Isolder, who's upset that he couldn't track things as well as Luke or Shum. And this is also where we get the fun scene of Isolder telling us about how this is his mom trying to get laid.
Yeah. One thing I want to say, I really like the Coruscant underworld scenes. They do a really good job. Like, even better than the X-Wing books. Like, I pictured how they were describing it. Like, it almost felt like straight out of, like, it felt like it could have fit right into like one of the original trilogy scenes, because like they talk about like this thing hasn't seen light in like 40,000 years or whatever, and they talk about like how it's not just because usually like the X-Wing series, for example, it'll just be okay. It's really shady down here. Like you'll get robbed. But this book, it's like, yeah, there are like strange aliens Luke's never seen before. Many of them have like just biologically adapted to the darkness. They glow, or like they don't have eyes or whatever, and it's just like it's very kind of fantasy-esque and very creepy, and like, and then he does a good job of kind of painting like the hole in the wall bars and stuff. I don't know, it's just really cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what we were talking about at the start, where the book does a really good job with the Star Wars, like the OT Star Wars tone.
Yeah,
probably better than anything we've read so far. And
yeah,
honestly, it might be better than anything we're going to read. It might be the best.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. Let me just. Yeah, I mean, it does a really phenomenal job.
I guess you could kind of say Thrawn trilogy, but
yeah,
even that kind of gets away from
the
the dialogue structure, and it doesn't go for the same kind of ridiculous that you kind of get with Star Wars sometimes.
It's like it's
ridiculous in a good way, but
yeah, it's pulpy. But yeah, like the way that was written, I could just imagine how cool it would be on screen. Like I would have loved to see Coruscant with like that kind of OT vibe. You know what I mean? Like have some like puppets in the background, like like have like some tentacles coming out of the wall. Vents and stuff. Yeah.
So we go from Luke's search. He gets the information, and then Luke and Isolder start heading out for Dathomir. Luke is on Song of War with them. Isolder uses Luke's knowledge to plot a faster course than the other ships would have been able to do.
Yeah.
To beat Shum's speed, and also to hopefully catch up with Han and Leia, rather. So we kind of cut to Han and Leia now, who are like, well, may as well think that's how most of that goes. They just get into the system, they get into a space battle, they see the frigate already spiraling down. But in the interim, we get a chapter or two of Han and Leia on the planet, and Han's upset that all these people are trespassing on his world.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. That's another Han too. He's not like, he sees like an entire Imperial shipyard and like dozens of Star Destroyers, and is like, "This is my planet. What are they doing here?" He's like, "Out,
get off my lawn!"
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's a cool moment. One thing that I was kind of confused about though is the whole deal with like Luke, them lending him an X-wing.
Yeah, it was just like a cheap way to not have Luke's X-wing explode, but also to show like the Hapen. Yeah, they totally sabotaged his X-wing in R2.
But like, why do the Hapens have another X-wing?
The Hapens do use X-wings in a lot of stuff. Like they've captured X-wings and Star Destroyers. There's a bunch of Star Destroyers in their fleet at the start of the book.
Yeah.
And we kind of see it at the end as well, where they're like, they give the order to capture as many of Zinj's Star Destroyers as are still functional by the end.
Yeah.
Because there is still the pirate routes for them.
Mm-hmm. And then but there's another part too where who is it that's fighting the what's it called? Who is it that Leia is going to try to mediate again?
The Barabels and the Verpine.
Is it the Verpine? Oh yeah. And at one point they mentioned the Verpine using B-wings, I think.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like kind of weird that they're giving them all these like OT ships, I guess.
Yeah, they kind of spread it around, a lot of that stuff around where the Barabels are also said to have a pretty good fleet themselves. Like there's a lot more of the local defense local system defenses that are a bit more substantial than we see in a lot of other things up until probably Hand of Thrawn duology, where that is kind of a central plot. So
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But so they're trespassing. This is where we get the Z-95 headhunter during the battle in space with Luke and Isolder, who are Luke borrows the X-wing and they're kind of dogfighting.
Pretty terrible space battle.
There's not really much to describe there. They fake their death and head down to the planet, but the Z-95 headhunter is referred to as a Zebra headhunter.
Oh, is it really?
I don't know if it was like a myth. I had to like double check it because I'd never known it was called that before, but like they explicitly say Zebra headhunter.
Do they go with that in other books?
I was trying to see if it was referenced that way anywhere else, but like it definitely says Zebra headhunter.
I think Dave Wolverton must have just been reading Thrawn trilogy because they have Z-95s in that as well, and it's just like, okay, throw this in. That's like there's a few issues with that. Like I think there's a Zebulon B, and it's like widely understood that it was just someone went to write Nebulon B and accidentally wrote Zebulon B, and like it was never fixed, so it's just a different ship. I think actually, interestingly enough, that
see if I can get it on.
There's Threkken Horn. I was reading the Star Wars wiki page. Apparently, here I'll read the behind the scenes. Threkken Horn's
get a good focus on this, but you can kind of see it there.
Are you showing the passage?
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Zebra headhunter.
Oh, I believed you.
Well, I was thinking for our vast audience who may not believe me.
What version? What do you have an early edition? I wonder if that was ever changed.
This is one of the ones that is still referencing the Empire trilogy by Timothy Zahn.
Let me I've got a new version. Just a second. What page is it on?
That was.
Or what's the sentence?
You could just search for zebra.
Oh yeah, it's still there. The zebra headhunters were on them. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so there we go. That's the main takeaway for the book.
Well, here's another one. This is from the Threkken Horn Wikipedia page. Kevin J. Anderson originally intended to include Threkken Horn in his books Dark Apprentice and Champions of the Forest, but a typographical error was committed, resulting in the creation of the character known as Hrekem Thorm, basically changing the two letters around. This may serve as a sort of out-of-universe explanation as to why Thorm's character was in favor of the execution of Kip Durin for the destruction of Karita. This may also explain why he's still present in that novel, considering the fact that he was killed on Tatooine. Yeah, I think that one is a lot more important to be explained.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. It's like, oh, also this explains why he's still alive. Like, obviously, Alderanian is going to be in favor of executing someone who's blown up a star system. Like, I don't understand what the writer. Goddamn, Wikipedia is so stupid; it pisses me off sometimes.
That's next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for singing, we get our first look at the Singing Mountain clan here. We find out there are the the light-sided Dathomir clans, and then the dark side Night Sisters, which the light side ones are the ones that use the Rancors, and the Rancors run away from the Night Sisters, which means that forces of corruption got it wrong.
Well, in Legacy of the Force, or no, Fate of the Jedi, I forget which. I think they're fighting. I think it is the Night Sisters they're fighting, and they do use. They have like 100 Rancors at that time.
Maybe they've adapted new Rancor training technology.
Yeah. Maybe they just were nice to the Rancors for a bit. I like the Singing Mountain clan though. It is kind of interesting, but I think it's kind of a lost opportunity because Luke doesn't really train any of them, does he? Like,
Kirana T becomes a Jedi,
right? Okay,
and she's like the only other Night Sister, or the only other Singing Mountain clan person that wasn't like one of the elders that got a name that didn't die, because there was her and Freer or something.
Well, Ogwyn doesn't die, I don't think.
Well, Ogwyn was already fairly old. Because
isn't she the mother of?
She's already Tenennial Joe's grandmother, so she's probably 60 or 70 by that point. And, well, and Ogwyn's mom was, I'm not sure. Was the other character Ogwyn's mom?
The really old? No,
yeah, the 300-year-old one.
No, she's got to be. Is she Baritha or Baruka? No. Baruka is
Gazerian's sister.
Gazerian's sister. Is it Baritha? Oh no, it's Rel, right?
Yeah, Rel. Yeah. Was Rel Ogwyn's mom? I thought it said she was, but also that she was 300 years old. So Ogwyn might be like really old too.
Wikipedia doesn't say anything about her being related. Okay. I don't think she is.
But yeah, so it's probably not too far of a stretch to say that maybe some of the other like background Jedi were were witches of Dathomir as well. But like Kirana T definitely was, and then Tenelka obviously as well.
Technically is, yeah.
But
would have been nice to have Tenennial Joe do more afterwards. I don't know, she's a cool character, I guess.
Yeah, I think
I guess she's
a lot
over
of them. A lot of the Night or the I'm gonna keep doing. I'm just gonna accept that I'm gonna call them Night Sisters. A lot of the Night Sisters ended up just staying with Dathomir Society, but that was already part of the New Republic. So presumably they had a lot more contact with the Jedi, and that's how Luke got all of that information, anyways.
Right.
So they're probably like a branch office of the Jedi Order, of the new Jedi Order.
Well, later too, in they talk about there being an academy. There is an academy on Dathomir because Luke, when he's expelled from Coruscant, there's parts of Dathomir he can't visit because there's a Jedi academy there.
Yeah, so that's probably an indication, or as much of an indication as we're going to get, that they were integrated.
But I mean, they're really powerful. Like, Tenennial Joe actually wins her first confrontation with Luke.
Yeah. With her stick.
Yeah. So, and I mean, Gethzerian's super powerful. Like, she's probably, I mean, at this point, she has more feats than Palpatine. Like, she kills like, I forget how many. Like, she kills like maybe 100 people just instantly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Tenennial Joe had that miscarriage thing. I'm reading the Wikipedia page. That was really weird. Anyway, where were we in the book? Let's get back on track.
Yeah, so we've basically gotten to the point where Luke has found Sha'an-Thor.
Yeah.
And they're on the surface of the planet. Isolder had thought that Luke had died, but Luke and Isolder get captured by Tenennial. Luke has this confrontation with her after trying to break into Sha'an-Thor, which is an ancient Jedi ship that worked as like a floating academy, a traveling academy that had been, we later find out, traded to the Night Sister, or to the Night Sisters, to the clans in.
But no one could get inside of it, though.
Yeah, they'd given them a bunch of knowledge put into a box, and it was basically once the Night Sisters are gone, then will trust that you can handle this knowledge and someone will read these
Right.
books to you. Until
Yeah.
then, don't look at them.
Mm.
Yeah, so Leia and Han get taken to the Singing Mountain clan. They accept Leia as one of their own, and she kind of vouches for Han, saying like, "Oh, he saved my life, so he's allowed to be his own person." Because just like Hapes, the Dathomir clans are an old penal colony that had another Jedi who was expelled from the Order, expelled from the Republic, who lived there, and then all of their daughters ended up being Force sensitive, and I guess the men generally weren't, and so the women ended up in the same kind of matriarchal society, and they ended up like the way they'd choose their mates was kidnapping them. So Luke and Isolder get kidnapped.
I heard it was Kathleen Kennedy who actually wrote this into the book.
Yeah, it was her, Ryan Johnson, and fetus Daisy Ridley.
Fetus Daisy Ridley. Was she really not born in 94?
I think she's younger than us.
Oh, God.
Which is a depressing thought.
Yeah.
I think she's like 25.
Yikes. Anyway, it's still her fault, regardless.
No, she's only a month younger than me.
Okay.
So, okay.
So infant Daisy Ridley.
Yeah, so she was able to weigh in on this. But yeah, so Han pulls a giant worm out of a hole. Which was weird.
Story of my life.
The woofa.
Sure, there's some symbolism there.
We don't need to get into it. Ask your parents after the podcast, kids.
Yeah. And it's like it's a big one. It's like hundreds of meters long.
Yeah,
like
it's a 250-meter giant woofa worm.
It's like a Nebulon B almost.
Yeah.
They use it a little bit.
That's where they get their rope. So it's a very important part of Dathomir society to
pulling rope.
Pull the rope out. That's how the men show their worth.
Yes. Pushing rope is something completely different. Don't look that up.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, Luke and Isolder are captured by Tenennial. Isolder, as we were discussing, kind of off screen, but this prompts a discussion between Tenennial and Luke, and also Luke and Isolder, where they kind of talk about their society, each's view on their society. Tenennial we get a bit more out of later because she just met them.
Yeah.
She's already deeply in love with them though, and is
course.
looking for someone to fill the emptiness inside her, which was very melodramatic bit of dialogue or monologue we got from her.
She's always showing the guys her boobs too.
Yeah, but Isolder gets the sense that is not to appeal to him. It's just they don't wear anything. So good for them.
Yeah.
But
R2 was the one who liked it the most.
I kept forgetting he was there. He didn't seem to impede their progress very much, despite being...
No, Luke is like super powered in this book. He's like hopping up and down mountains, levitating things, levitating R2.
Well, at one point he just pushes R2 off of the cliff into their little encampment. It was only like a meter or two or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was still not great. R2
Luke saves what's his name's Mytil, Isolder's Mytil, just because he likes the ship a lot.
Yeah.
Sweet old fella.
But Luke talks to Isolder about Hapen society when they're captured. He breaks out of his restraints that Tenennial put him in. Is like, you're gonna just have to accept that I can do this, and I'll travel with you, but don't do that again. So good on Luke. But Isolder gets upset that Luke is treating the Blue Desert people, which are a bunch of lizards. The fact that they call themselves people was, I assume, an issue in translation.
Yeah.
But Isolder's upset that Luke is nice to people that Isolder would consider below him, as nice as he is to himself and to Tachum.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke is like, yeah, you're all alive. I'm going to show you all respect. You're all part of the Force. And Isolder's like, no.
He's like, that's stupid.
You deserve to die.
Yeah.
You have dangerous ideas, Jedi.
Yeah. Not a nice fella.
And then Luke kind of points out that, like, you're not listening to Tachum either. So,
yeah,
am I really that bad?
Yeah, exactly. And Luke is very into nature in this one. He's like, at the end when he's dealing with the orbital night cloak, he's like, listen, it's not just people down there, it's trees.
Yeah, he's very Caduceus Clay.
Han's like, nah. Like, I'm good. I'm good, dog.
Well, let's just nuke the trees, kid. He's somewhere between Jack Nicholson and...
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm all for a Jack Nicholson Han Solo film, if Alden Ehrenreich is ever...
Yeah, or if they want to do a flashback in episode 9 and Harrison's not feeling it.
Yeah. Here's Honey.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, who do we get to play Leia? Recasters like Meryl Streep or something?
Sure. Down for it.
Nice.
That'd be shameful. Just get her daughter to do it. She's in all the movies, eh? Yeah, I like her. She's in American Horror Story as well. Lord, yeah.
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 Good. But I'm not sure what I was referring to with this. I have weird dialogue written down.
Let's keep
that
going.
must not be important. But this is when Luke talks about how Isolder is a risk-free apprentice because he can't use the Force, and therefore, if he goes to the dark side, not a big deal.
Yeah, and it's like, but he's not really your apprentice then, is he? If he's got no powers and isn't going to, like, all you're really teaching him is, like, don't be a dick. Like, that's a 2-second lesson.
Yeah. And he kind of does the same thing with Tenennial, where I guess he's confident from his 16 hours teaching Isolder that now he can move on to another apprentice, who also doesn't become his apprentice. At this point, he's not doing too well with apprentices. We talked about Dev. That didn't work out. Presumably, there's been a few off-screen since that. Kyle Katarn doesn't really work out. Corran doesn't really work out. Corran yells at Luke about this a lot in iJedi, I'm pretty sure. So we'll get to that.
Even Mara doesn't really work out. She kind of comes and goes.
Yeah. I think Corran talks about, like, Luke's first 15 students and how, like, well, at least he got 7 that worked out all right. So good job, buddy.
Yeah, and, like, only 3 of them almost turned into Darth Vader.
Brachus.
What's his name? The
Gantoris.
Yeah, what's the giant lizard again? What's his name? T-Rex.
The T-Rex?
From Jedi Knight 2.
Oh, Dasan?
Yeah, Dasan. Wasn't he one of Luke's as well?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
What about what's this guy's name? What's the name of the guy with, like, the Buzz Lightyear suit?
Keeler.
Yeah, was he one of Luke's apprentices?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another
Pretty much
one.
everyone was, and then they all went to the dark side. There were about 16 Kylo Rens running around the galaxy at any given point, is basically what we're saying.
Yeah.
But
I love how I said dark side Buzz Lightyear, and you're like, oh yeah, Keeler.
Yeah, because he got the pointy helmet, and he looks like it's not a shit. What is that from? Because it's not quite Buzz Lightyear. It's like an evil guy in a fake comic series in another cartoon. Isn't it Fairly Odd Parents? No.
He kind of looks like the enemy from Buzz Lightyear.
Lord Galactica or whatever.
Zurg. Isn't his name Zurg? Yeah, he kind of looks like Zurg actually, because he's got the. Yeah. Oh yeah, he looks like Zurg for sure.
Like, there's someone I'm specifically picturing right now.
What's the lore of Emperor Zurg? How did he come to power?
That sounds like a great video.
Emperor Zurg lore. He's a sworn enemy of the Galactic Alliance. Yeah, good enough.
Like the post-Vong War one?
yeah, basically.
All right. Well, we're on Dathomir.
And Zurg were roommates at one point.
We're on Dathomir, and Tenennial, Luke, and Isolder get accosted by another Night Sister. They tell Isolder to go hide in a cave with R2, and Luke cuts the head off of this Night Sister, who sends some forced lightning into Tenennial, injures her, but Luke cuts the head off and some blue light escapes, which is always a good sign. Ocheron.
Yes.
And this is right after this when Tenennial is healing, and she's surprised by Luke's power because apparently it's a very rare thing for the Day Sisters, thanks Digosfish, for them to have any sort of healing power. And whenever they do, they kind of like play up the whole singing thing. Like, Tenennial is just super blown away by the fact that Luke can cast any spells, but especially cast them without any incantations.
I kind of like the incantation things. It fits with the lore. Basically, it's just basically they concentrate, and like all you really need is concentration. They kind of have led themselves to believe that like they need to do this, so I guess thus they do, really.
Yeah.
It's like same with like I did a video on like whether you actually need to move your hand to force push something or like to choke somebody, and you don't. It's just like it's a method of like, you know, mind to matter, I guess.
Yeah. Like in Harry Potter, how you don't actually need to say the spells. It's just easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But this is where we get the scene where Tenennial wants someone to just fill the emptiness in her, because she gets super angsty, and Luke is rejecting her. He's like, you kidnapped me, but I'm not marrying you. You can stop now.
Yeah.
But she hasn't quite settled for Isolder yet. This is about the time that Isolder accepts the ropes of bondage. We end up back in the Singing Mountain clan, though, and Han is making a deal with the Night Sisters, Day Sisters, and tells Ogwyn that he's willing to give them the planet for a buttload of gems, Leia marrying him, and was it fixing the Falcon? I forget. I didn't write down what the third one was.
I think just getting off the planet, wasn't it?
Yeah, so.
And
he was actually thinking that he could blow up the Falcon to stop them to stop the Night Sisters from getting off the planet, because how they ended up there is that it was a Imperial penal colony, and Zinj was trying to build a base on the planet. The Night Sisters started taking them over, so Zinj just nuked the spaceport from orbit to stop the Night Sisters from getting off.
He's scared of the Gethzarian, basically, because she's a bad bitch. She is. She's nasty.
Yeah, she like murders the first person that comes down from Zinj's inner circle. So
yeah, and she's really powerful too. Like she can basically get in your mind from across the planet, no problem.
Yeah, Luke is at a few points in the book is like, damn, is this what it would have been like with Vader if he wasn't trying to just convert me? Because Gethzarian is not fucking around. He's just all business.
Yeah, she zaps him once and he almost dies. Like like one shot and he's basically done.
Yeah. Which
I do like how-
awakens like the biggest powers in him possible, where he can pilot and shoot everything at once.
Yeah, it's like, what's it called in Dragon Ball Z, where once a Saiyan
Super
gets
Saiyan.
no, where like a Saiyan almost dies on, is it a Zenko boost? They almost die and then they get way stronger.
I think that's just the episode number going up. They get way stronger.
No, it's a thing, I swear.
No, it definitely is a thing, but like everything makes your power level go up by 10,000 in Dragon Ball.
True. But I do like with the whole bombing thing, because at the very first scene when they arrive on Dathomir, the ship is like, the frigate they're with gets bombed like from orbit, and you're like, why are they doing this? And then it kind of fills it in nicely. They've got to take down everything that lands, just so like the witches don't take it. So that was kind of nice. All right, Zenkai boost.
They send in the like the one shuttle. Zinj makes it clear, is like, this is for my personnel. It's gonna be heavily armed. Don't get that. You go in the unarmed one. But she just murders everyone on the armed one and takes it. So it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But yeah, so Han offers them the planet, and then basically just says, just keep the D for safekeeping. You can have it now.
He's very moody in this. He's like, he's just like, just take it. And they're like, we can't do that. And he's like, well, just hold on to it, I guess.
Yeah. And this is when we start getting back into like angsty couple mechanics again, because they all kind of unite soon after this. And
they go on like basically a day trip.
Yeah. Because they're told it was like an ex-Night Sister who wanted to get back in the clan so they could go get some information on how to infiltrate a prison, which is where they thought, or the actual former base with the prison colony, so they could get some parts to fix the Falcon. And they go to visit the other, that Night Sister, ex-Night Sister, future Day Sister, Haruka.
Yeah, and she's just chilling.
They decide they all need to go on this multi-day journey, ride some Rancors over there. And this is where Luke starts deciding he may actually have some feelings for Tenennial, because they're working on the seating arrangements.
And Leia senses it too, because she's like, "Ooh, I've never." He's like, "Ooh,"
and that's where we get Han's wonderful line of telling Luke that he wouldn't mind Tenennial riding on his Rancor, which
it's pretty.
I could have done without.
Yeah, it's pretty crass.
And was that they could have sex?
Oh,
yeah. So,
okay, never mind. That's not so bad then.
Yeah. So the Rancor in that being his genitals is what they're.
Gotcha.
So Isolder climbs up with Leia on the one Rancor. Luke and Tenennial are on another, and Han is with Chewie. So there's some kissing that goes on around each other, even when they're already in the process of switching partners. They have an actual a good conversation in this about the power structures of their respective societies, and I think this is where the you're so dumb comment comes in, with the soldier saying he has absolute power.
Yeah, she just turns around and laughs at him.
Yeah,
you're so dumb.
And this is kind of where Leia also starts to be like kind of jaded with this soldier. It's like, oh, so he's not. He doesn't actually love me. He just loves the idea of me.
Plus, he starts to be like, when he interacts with Han, he starts to be kind of a bit showy and a bit just kind of a.
Both of them do that a lot, and Luke and.
But it's more endearing when Han does it.
Yeah, because that's his entire personality. He's got nothing else to go for in the world.
I just think that Han should really appreciate the friend he has in Chewie.
Yeah,
because like Chewie's always there. Chewie's got a family. He even says at this point, in this book at one point, Chewie's got a family, and he's like, he's here with me, and like he's furry, he's a good snuggler probably. Like, screw women, just hang with Chewie.
Yeah.
Maybe
he should be taking that as a sign that maybe Chewie's not the best because he's ditching his family the whole time.
That's true. That is true.
Oh
After
crap!
that,
We missed the old flirt Yoda comment from
yeah, because
Rel.
well, isn't that I think isn't that before they leave?
Yeah, that's
though?
before they leave, and she's talking about the elder of the clan is talking about how Luke was foretold as coming there in her vision. She can she slips into seeing into the future and the past, and tells Luke he's going to
Unreliable
have
future.
children. So
Yeah,
not just
children.
Ben.
Yeah.
So obvious continuity error. Great job, Dave
Well,
Wolverton.
it's possible.
Yeah, I guess Rock and Cole could have been from a second marriage with just being Luke's direct kids.
Or maybe Luke just just liked hooking up. Why did
That's
you have to be
fair.
married, Corey? I wasn't married when I had a kid.
Yeah, but
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
this is a Christian podcast,
Huh.
so I frown upon your life choices.
Suddenly my cozy comment doesn't look so bad, does it?
You're the one that's projecting with this.
Wow. Well, I'm very sensitive about you're a very important man in my life, so.
Well,
Wow. It is also possible that maybe Luke had a or that Luke hooked up with someone and he just didn't know.
yeah.
It's possible.
What are the
Luke
top
has, like,
character
12
options for
girlfriends.
this?
Okay, we got Computer Girl.
What if
Gonna be number
Tenel Ka
one.
is actually Luke's?
Then that whole thing with Jason is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it ended up so much better without that.
Because I guess they'd only be first cousins. For Star Wars, that's not that bad.
Yeah. It turns out that everyone's related anyways with everyone's related in real life regardless, but it
could be
the most 2
Lumaya.
degrees of separation there.
I think Lumaya is actually the most likely one because they could have done the dirty before she disappeared.
Yeah.
And then and then when she was gone, she could have had the baby. And then
Makes
back when
sense.
she was or it could have been.
Is there a character that is likely to be Luke's illegitimate child, though? Who just doesn't know they're a Skywalker? What if, oh shit.
Kip Durin.
No, not Kip.
Cage doesn't work out.
Can't be Kip. It's that guy who shows up in Vector Prime. Like the Poochie of Star Wars, I called him before. The annoying one.
Oh. You mean the show off, the Jedi?
Yeah.
What's his name again? Can't remember his name. Are you getting your book? Is that what you're doing?
It is like Cool McSpace Dude or something.
Worth Skitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Luke's son. That's why Luke keeps him around.
Possible. It's possible.
Hey, we'll have to keep that in mind when we get to Vector Prime.
Yes.
But they end up infiltrating the prison by using some harvester droids, which were Hapen export droids. So the Hapens apparently do have more contact with the outside galaxy than they'd have us believe. So maybe they bought the X-Wings from Encom directly.
Yeah, it's possible. Or someone could have smuggled them in or something.
Yeah, so that's what we get for assuming. Yeah. So that's another lesson for today, guys. I'm just wow. Yeah. They break in.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say the Hapens also really quickly joined the New Republic, like no problem.
Yeah. I'm marrying this other lady, and also we're joining the New Republic.
It's like, all right.
I have nothing to add because there's no pages left in the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they get into the prison where they are going to try to get the bits to fix the Falcon, and they find the nicest laundry tech ever.
Yeah, that guy's really sweet, isn't he? Hope he survives.
Luke tries to mind trick him, and Leia's like, "Don't do this. You're bad at this." Maybe you can find out his name, though.
Yeah, I like too how they're sneaking in and like Han's like eating all these berries and stuff.
I eated the purple berries.
Like, yeah, they use that for to make disinfectant. Like, those are not edible.
It's like the bird berry bushes. I don't know. That's what we called them as kids. I don't know what they're actual, but the berries
Little
that
red
birds would
ones?
eat. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're absolutely not supposed to eat. Han is the guy who would just go and mow down like 60 of them.
Yeah.
He's bleeding out during the next firefight. Just
Rubbing berries all over himself.
So some of the guards come up. Han tries to act like he's their commanding officer, and Luke, or Han and Isolder and Chewie take them out, and then Luke alters their memories so they won't remember what happened.
Yeah.
Which seems like a
Like-
pretty dark side thing to do. Messing
Yeah, I
with
guess it's
memory,
better
that's
to
terrible.
though.
I don't know. The intent was to protect people, though, so we get a lot
Yeah.
of Luke's philosophy on intent being what matters, which
Yeah, I meant to mention that the Darth Plagueis would not be impressed.
yeah, the same thing. It's kind of like Jason's later philosophy,
Yeah,
like the Dark Nest era Jason
yeah,
Jedi
it's the,
philosophy.
What is it called again? The
Potentium.
Potentium theorem, yeah, or theory, yeah.
Yeah, I want to do a video
Intent
on that
matters.
stuff. But,
Yeah, you got to reread everything, and you got to reread Traitor, and lots of NJO before you do that.
yeah,
Or you just read Wikipedia like everyone else does.
yeah. I could just read the actual articles into. I could do text to speech. I don't even
Well,
do
you
anything.
just read the article, like as long as you change one or two words. That's what I've seen.
Welcome to Eckhart's Footstep.
It's funny though when you watch a YouTube video on like a lore video and then you control F certain words on the Wikipedia page, like weird words like inexplicably this happened, and then like you control F the Wikipedia page and it's the exact same thing. Like someone's been borrowing.
Yeah.
So
Why do I do it the hard way?
you don't really need to be honest.
I could just make so much money.
Yep.
Citation needed.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Hapen capital ship. The what's the big one called again? Like the
Starhome?
Starhome, yeah. Pretty cool description of it in
Flagship?
this book. Yeah.
Well, the traveling palace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like thousands of years old and really a
Yeah.
piece of shit, but it just looks cool.
The giant starfish. Oh. It is in the thumbnail for the video here, along
Oh,
with
hold on.
one of Valerie's designs. So snuck in, fanning technically, but
Oh, I don't like that.
hey, what you get.
Don't like that.
But yeah, so we're into the prison. They
Mhm.
end up finding a YT-1300
Yep.
made out of 3 other YT-1300s.
Almost finished.
Almost finished. Doesn't quite fly yet.
Doesn't it have tie parts as well?
There are tie parts in there. I don't know if it said they were attached to it.
Yeah.
So,
But it's a piece of junk, like even more than the Falcon.
yeah.
And it's not space worthy, but it can still fly. Like they still fly planet side with it, but
Yeah, they fly over a river or over a lake and then ditch it. But they're being kind of chased by the Imperials or the Gethzerian Night Sister faction at that point.
Mhm.
But now
Yeah,
that
plus they're always worried about being spotted from space.
yeah, and I think they're flying like 5 feet off the ground,
Yeah.
and they're trying to get the parts so they can just fix the Falcon with it. I think they do explicitly mention that the sensors are functional.
Yeah.
That's
Which
very
is, like,
important. That's what
They
you really
needed
need. For it.
sensors. Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I feel like they could have made it out with just that coolant. Like they say they need sensors, shielding, and But like the shielding, like are meteors really that common? Like spaceships fly in real life without those, so I don't know. Yeah, coolant, meteors, and sensor technology is what they need. Or sorry, coolant, shielding, and sensor technology. They don't need meteors.
What the fuck are you talking?
No meteors.
Am I just not understanding the word he's saying? I'm gonna nod like I am.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Well, have you ever heard someone be like so wrong and yet you don't want to disagree with them because maybe I've just been wrong this whole time?
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is when we start getting the deals between Gethzirian and Zinj, where Zinj wants Han Solo, as opposed to some other Han, and Gethzirian really wants to get off the planet. So Zinj offers first off, like, hey, we'll not kill you with these night cloaks if you give me Han. And
they're like, don't care.
Yeah, we don't value our lives, so okay. But then they offer their service to get off the planet, which they'd secure, or which they'd guarantee by saying that Zinj could keep their daughters as basically collateral. And this kind of gets Zinj's attention. Eventually, he says they accept, like, oh, we'll just go into the New Republic and we'll screw with everyone. So
which is not a bad plan, honestly.
Well, Zinj eventually wants to rule the whole galaxy, so eventually he'd have to contend with the Night Sisters. So this wasn't a long-term solution for anyone, really.
Thrawn would have found a way to use them, though.
That probably would have gone about as well as the Nogri.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
But, so yeah, Zinj has the Night Cloaks, starts deploying them, and the eventual deal that they come up with is for the go into the Republic and deal with them that way, and they'll trade Han for that. Zinj doesn't realize they don't actually have Han, and they're trying to act like they do have Han, and they're planning an assault on the Singing Mountain clan in order to get Han, as well as the Millennium Falcon. They want either of those things.
Yeah,
that's where they get the shuttle plan.
Yeah, and I don't know, the shuttle would have never worked out for them because Zinj has like 100 capital ships in orbit. He was just going to blow them up. Like,
yeah, there was never. That's basically what happens, regardless.
Yeah,
where Melvar comes back down to switch the shuttles. This is where we get the end of Melvar, who has the vibranium nails that didn't really come up before.
Yeah, it does mention it a little bit in the Wraith Squadron trilogy, I think. But yeah. What was I gonna say?
Yeah,
one thing we haven't talked about is how
Sen Melvar was bad.
Yeah, he's like one of his top generals, isn't he?
Yeah.
He
had to know if something was going to happen. Yeah, he was the highest ranking non-Zinj person that Zinj had.
Why wouldn't they just send down Raptors? It's also weird that Raptors get name dropped in this book, but we don't actually see them.
Well, I think the only time that we would really see them is if they were with Melvar on that deployment, which they should have been.
But yeah, like I kind of imagine them as like Death Troopers, even though that's not really how they're explained. But
yeah. But what didn't we talk about?
Oh, how the Rancors are just total bros.
Yeah.
And there's that one, the Rancor mother loses 2 of their children, and it's like,
yeah, that was very sad. That was during the Night Sister assault on the Singing Mountain clan, and in that battle, they mentioned how Gethzirian, the leader of the Night Sisters, didn't care about things like terrain when making her battle plan. So that's nice too. That's a great battle plan because they think they can just go over any terrain, and the stormtroopers can't though because they can't hover.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the whole Imperial Gethzirian relationship works. In the audiobook totally glosses over that, so it wasn't something that I really remember. It's just like, yeah, the Empire they've been totally stranded on the planet, so they're just working for the Gethzirian because why not? Like, she'll kill them otherwise, I guess.
Yeah. She's never really directly working for them. It's just like maybe getting the trade, and then
oh, sorry,
hopefully
I meant
not
the
getting
ones that are
killed.
like still on planet, like
Yeah.
the ones that are stranded. They're like, yeah, they kind of submit to her a lot of the time. Like she's leading, like she's got walkers and stuff with her when she attacks, doesn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, it's unclear if she's like force dominating them or they're just like scared and working for her.
Yeah, well, I think it's just they've been abandoned, so like,
Yeah, they've got no other
what else are they
choice.
gonna do? Yeah,
Just like the kidnapped husbands and whatever of the clans.
One thing I like too is that there are other like good side clans on the planet. They're just too far away, like because they're like, well, we could call, but it's like they'll be here in 2 days, or they'll be here in 3 days, and Gift Syrian will be here in 2. So we gotta send a runner. So it's like I thought it was kind of a nice little bit of world building, and we do get some of that in Fate of the Jedi 2. They spend some time on Dathomir, and I forget which clan it is then, but there's like this big ceremony, and the Night Sisters are attacking and stuff. So
yeah, because it's like 4 days to get to them.
Yeah.
Then 4 days for them to get to another clan, and they're worried that if they leave, they're going to be attacked in the middle of nowhere, or they can't defend themselves.
Like 3, yeah.
So they'll just stay put.
Yeah, because if they try to move everyone, like friendly territory anymore, yeah.
But before the attack, we get the Night Cloak starting to be deployed.
Worst super weapon of all time.
Yeah, I mean it'd work against people who can do nothing back, who are no threat to begin with. So that's nice.
But like I'm pretty sure you could get a powerful like ground-based weapon. Like I'm pretty sure there are like infantry rocket launchers that could disrupt it.
If you can shoot, like it's an orbital thing.
Yeah, that's what. Like I guess if it was like a really, I mean, certainly a ground-based turbo laser could take it out.
Well, they talk about how anyone who has like sufficient technology can just automatically go and mess it up. But the Night Sisters in particular, but Dathomir in particular is like the one place it'd work because they don't have any ships. Yeah. So it makes sense for Zinj's specific application there. Because he seems fine with developing a specific technology for any given application.
Yeah, he might have already had it too. It is kind of weird how they can fly through it though. Because at one point when the Millennium Falcon first escapes, it actually first flies through the Night Cloak and then goes back underneath. So it must be like staggered or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bunch. I think it's a bunch of satellites that are like it's not one sheet of them. They're staggered, so you can get through them. But it's
so they don't actually like touch or anything.
Yeah, that was at least my interpretation of it before. Where there were parts of the book where it seemed like it might be one thing, but I was always under the impression it was multiple satellites that sort of fan out, and even though they're not in the same exact position to cover any blind spots. You have multiple layers that end up covering every angle. Yeah,
I basically imagined it like just an array of satellites that cover the planet like kind of scales or something, but I guess that makes more sense.
But we get a conversation between Isolder and Tenennial at this point as well before the battle. Where Isolder starts like explaining the stars to her, tells her like
affection for him comes way out of left field, in my opinion.
Yeah, the whole romantic element of it there, just for all of them, just starts forming out of nothing. It just ends up being kind of rushed.
Yeah,
where Isolder had already said like, wait a minute, I didn't consent to this. I didn't accept that rope, knowing what it meant. But then they kind of like both accept like. Hey, we both came here because we're lonely. Let's be lonely together, maybe. And Isolder tries to be like, well, no. What will my family think? Screw your family.
She's like, who cares?
I know you love me. She pulls the reverse Truset Bakura Luke, only if Luke had been right. Which doesn't make it better.
No,
listen to what people say.
It's like equally as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of that in the book. It's no healthy relationships really formed here. Like
Yeah.
Luke and Leia, I guess.
Yeah, no, maybe not.
Yeah.
Leia running to Luke whenever she has Han problems seems to be what they're developing there.
Yeah, and Luke's not a very loyal buddy to Han either. Well, if you like Isolder, maybe go with him. I'm just like, wow. Han and Luke have been friends for like 6 years at this point.
Well, I like my brother-in-law. I'd
Yeah.
consider us friends independent of my
Mhm.
sister as well.
Yep.
But had he kidnapped my sister,
True.
I don't know that I would have been super sympathetic.
This was even before that because remember, she calls him like on the HoloNet. She's like, "It's an emergency," and he's like, "Oh, what is it? Which boy should I like?"
It's the whole 7th grade thing is just perfect.
Yeah.
Really makes it all make so much more sense.
Replace the HoloNet with MSN Messenger. You're set.
That really dates us though too.
Yes, it does. Sorry, Facebook Messenger, guys.
With Kick.
Ugh.
But we get the final climactic battle, or 2 battles, because there's
Yeah.
a space one. They're still waiting for the Hapen fleet to come in.
Mhm.
But the assault from the Night Sisters happens. Luke ends up. This is when Luke gets his ass handed to him by Gazerian,
Mhm.
and also the Tenennial Joe has a brush with the dark side, and she just like
she bruises her face.
loses her force shit on these other Night Sisters.
Yeah. She like throw the corpse of one basically like down a hallway.
She throws the corpse of one of her clanmates at the Night Sisters using a gust of force wind down some stairs, and then Karana T's like, "But Tenennial."
And do you think because doesn't Luke kind of heal the bruise of one of the others that get bruised? The one that they find in the middle of the woods, doesn't Luke kind of heal that? So like, do you think he can fix that for her?
The dead Night Sister or the
No,
blood vessel?
No, the blood vessel. Earlier, like Luke helps that one that's like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
That they go to. He helps
I think yeah, he probably can, but that would heal as well.
yeah.
Just anyways. It's just the other Night Sisters are doing evil ragey crap so
Oh,
often
okay.
they stay splotchy.
Gotcha.
But you can like pop a blood vessel in your eye and it'll heal eventually. But
Yeah. Okay.
it's fine. It's nothing
It's
to
all
worry
good.
about if you just like page
Stop.
pop a major artery.
Just stop doing it.
What you're doing now, it's not okay.
Stop it. Stop it right now.
Hey, no.
What's that LeBron James commercial? Or sorry, Michael Jordan commercial where he's like, "Stop it, get help." It was like an old McDonald's commercial for like drug addiction, I think.
I don't know. This is news
He's
to
like-
me.
He's like, "Stop it, get some help." It's like Michael Jordan from like the 80s or 90s. It's really good. Yeah.
But yeah, Tenennial does the same thing where she's like, "I'm gonna heal you now." After I lost my shit on the other ones and decided maybe that wasn't the right thing. We'll close out the podcast with another dramatic reading of 3PO's other song. Don't worry about it. But
yes.
yeah, anything else with the battle? Like by this point, Luke has been just force blasted by Gazerian.
Yeah.
Tenennial goes angry.
Yeah, so Gazerian almost kills him in one shot. Pretty impressive display of power. Then he uses the power of magic and love, and he comes back to full power. He basically does he does a Dragon Ball Z
Zenkai.
lend me your energy thing.
Okay, yeah.
And the trees and stuff come through. I don't know, kind of a cool moment. It's It's not really how the later books treat the Force, but I think it's kind of like what the movies would do.
Yeah, he's really good at piloting now. That's what his Force
That
power
part's pretty
is.
cool. He's basically controlling the entire Falcon by himself. Like,
Yeah. Who's flying? It must be
Luke.
Isolder. No, this is Luke. Who's shooting? It's Luke. Who's making coffee? Luke.
Who's lowering the shields?
Luke.
Luke. Who's checking my prostate? Luke. Classic. That is also after Han almost dies too.
Yeah,
It's a pretty
Han,
brutal moment where the Gethzarian's like torturing him, breaking his
his teeth.
legs and his teeth. And
He hands himself over to Gethzarian to save some innocent prisoners from being murdered by her, because she is still planning to give him over to Zinj, thinking that's her ticket out of there. And that's kind of when Melvar ends up getting killed. After Han's bomb doesn't go off and Melvar like jumps to the ground. So that was embarrassing for him.
yeah, and then he dies immediately after, probably of embarrassment. It's not of it's not of being like I don't know what doesn't she like basically give them all strokes or something like
Yeah.
But no, he died of embarrassment from being a little baby in front of all his boys.
Yeah, so Han's suicide attempt doesn't go well, as
Yeah.
we probably knew going into the book.
Yeah.
And
Surprise.
then Luke goes on his... He takes a nap first. That was key.
Yeah, he's like, wake me up in 3 hours. This is like me and my like I was like, wake me up at 8:30 this morning. She's like, no. I'm like, do it.
This
It's
is
like,
important.
Set an alarm. It's like, then set an alarm. They're like, yeah, okay, Luke, we'll wake you up. And he's like, God damn it, don't talk to me like that. It's like I just survived with flower power.
Does he have anything with an alarm? Can he just set R2?
Yeah. Why don't you like R2 shock me like in the testicles until I wake up? Okay.
You'd think when he's gonna like super force channel like that, he probably wouldn't need sleep. Like I can absorb all of nature, but only if I've got a solid 3-hour nap in.
Yeah. This is very specific too. He's like 3 hours. Like, okay, we gotta be up. We gotta go get Han. He's like, no, I got new episode of 9 Day Fiance to watch on TLC. Can't miss it. I can't miss it.
Yeah, I assume it's like some sort of healing trance is how we're gonna describe that. But
I like just a nap.
that's the definite preferred answer.
Yeah.
But we was the 16-year-old during the previous battle or the end phase?
It's like when they're on their way back from the prison. Like they're
okay, so it was already okay, so I guess we should touch
that's
on
when she
that.
loses when one of the Rancor loses her first child.
Right.
Gets his arm and she just like Luke like gives the Night Sister like 10 opportunities to surrender, and then the and then the Rancor. And these Rancors are described as being way bigger than the ones at Jabba's.
Yeah,
I think they say they're like 15 meters or something. It says they're really tall, but yeah, just claps it.
Yeah, she just like looks scared and then keeps trying to attack Luke and mess with his lightsaber, and it's like she's gonna kill him basically.
Yeah.
And like that's the closest anyone ever gets in Star Wars to killing Luke. And
Luke has some weird moments where like in this book he's like, yeah, don't use aggression, don't give into the dark side. And then at one like, well, the first thing he does when he lands on Dathomir is he decapitates something. Decapitates that Night Witch. I mean, she was being pretty evil, but it's just like Luke is like very technicalities sometimes. Like, as long as they attack me first, I'm good.
That's what I was saying with like the altering memory, the decapitations,
but
using all this Force stuff to murder everyone in the Night Sisters.
the altering memory kind of fits within his current philosophy because it's ultimately saving those stormtroopers
It's
from
to
dying.
save them from dying and save the laundryman from dying.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have to kill them.
The sweet boy.
But it's the whole book is about people deciding what's good for other people. So Luke is flying in the face of the book's themes.
It's true. It's true. I like that.
But yeah, so Han's way to delay Gazirian is the thing where it's like, I'm going to turn all your bones into 3. He's like, oh yeah? What about my teeth?
She's like, oh, that's an epic idea.
And then Han immediately regrets all of his life choices.
Yeah.
Like, I was so uncomfortable reading that.
He's like, yeah, that really actually hurt?
If I reread this book, I'm skipping, as long as I remember to this time, I'm skipping that passage because I don't deal well with teeth or eye things.
Okay.
If she was like popping his eyes, I wouldn't deal well with that.
There's another part too where there's an eye moment earlier where Tenniel's being shot by the lightning. And it talks about Millennial Joe. It's a pretty brutal description of forced lightning because she talked about how it's like crawling up her arm, and then it like goes in her eye, and she loses vision. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. That's one of the moments where it talks about breasts a lot.
Yeah, because
it looks like massaging it. I was like, is he like massaging her titty right now? Like,
yeah, because she talks about it after like, will anyone else touch me like that? It was weird.
Yeah, it looks like, okay, like chill. Like I'm in doctor mode right now. Like, chill out.
This is not okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that we get after Gazirian's killed in this whole Luke super force moment. That's when we get the final conversation with Isolder and Tenniel, where she confronts him about like, you really love me, so we're gonna get married.
He's like, okay.
So we know who's gonna be doing the next weird healing like that.
Yeah, you know, like when the relationship gets a little stale, Isolder's gonna walk in the bedroom and she's gonna be like, "Oh, I've just been zapped by a night witch. Will somebody please heal my burns?" Like, baby, you're speaking my language.
Jesus Christ.
He's like, actually, I still have PTSD from crashing on that planet, so no. Like,
that was actually a really hard time for me. So,
I lost a battle dragon with all my best friends on,
and she's getting like, ejection from the clan anyways. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, but I wonder if they'll let her back in because
if they do, because Channel Ka goes to spend time on Dathomir with her mom's family sometimes.
True. Yeah. Okay.
But all we really have left is the Falcon getting fixed more or less off screen, where they just say, "Get this working again." Okay, and
it's done.
Yeah, they have a three paragraph space battle where they just fly up. Han says, "Fly close to the Star Destroyer," and then that means they can automatically blow up Warlord Zsinj's command tower. Which is like this clearly wouldn't have worked in any other book, but I'll accept it from this one because space battles are not what we're here for.
And he says, "Kiss my Wookiee," so it's fine.
Yeah, we get the callback that later gets called back by the call forward, so that's good. And then we get the wedding.
Yeah,
which like I know it sounds like I'm rushing through that, but this all happens in the space of about 3 pages.
Yeah.
The Hapen fleet did get there when they were down on the planet having their own ground battle. So there was a lot of space battles happening.
The interdiction mines too, which is kind of a unique concept.
So the Hapen battle dragons all have pulse mine gravity generator things, which traps them as well, which is going to be really hard for us to code. But they just
are you actually going to try to?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know how to do it. Probably gonna, but
she used like a trick it to think that there's like a fleet coming or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Habens just clean up pretty quickly. After Zinj is dead, they kind of expect the Imperials to surrender. and the Havens talk about capturing all the Star Destroyers they can, but we just kind of like cut forward to Han and Leia's wedding. Isolder and Tenennial get like front row
They
seats
get
at
prime seats. Yeah.
it, which to me was like, no.
Yeah. Like, definitely not. Mon Mothma's just sitting in the back, just fuming.
Wedge, Mon Mothma, like
Yeah. Like all of Han's friends, Lando.
every character from every other book
Yeah.
they knew for longer than 3 days. It's like the rule of like don't have your exes at your wedding, even if you're still friends,
Yeah.
that they violate just flagrantly by making them their
Sit in
best
the front
man.
row.
And
It's like not even exes. It's like you got lucky. You got lucky she found a mountain woman.
yeah,
Or he found a mountain woman.
it's just so many unhealthy relationships that go on in this.
Leia's in the Falcon like, oh yeah, I choose you. And she's like, look to Luke, like, yeah, they're going together, right? Like Tenennial, like she convinced him, right? Okay, good. Yeah.
Oh, this is how. And Tachum is like super upset about Tenennial getting married to her son.
Yeah, but it's one of those that happened moments where Tenennial Joe tells her off so bad, and then everyone stands up and starts clapping, basically.
Yeah. But I love the when they kind of out Tachum as the one that put the assassination order on Leia, because it just reads like a Scooby-Doo resolution.
Yeah,
where Luke is literally lifting her mask for some reason.
Yeah,
that's right. I put the hit out on Leia, and I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Oh my god.
What I really didn't get about that was the whole Leia's a pacifist thing. It's like she shoots so many people, and she's leading the war effort.
Yeah, like Leia has a Star Destroyer. Like,
yeah, and like Tachum, for anyone who didn't read the book, I don't know how much you're able to follow what we're talking about, but one of the reasons that she wanted Leia dead is, well, mainly because she's a filthy Democrat, and she would have had elections in the Hapen systems in 10 years, which was a big no-no, but also that she was a pacifist, which doesn't fly with anything we know about Leia.
Yeah, Leia's like, later in Legends 2, Leia's like the one pushing for further militarization.
Yeah.
The New Republic.
In both continuities, she's like...
Yeah, and in canon as well.
She's just a straight-up general in canon.
Yeah. Yeah, she's certainly not like a wilting flower or anything. Like, she's pretty badass. And she's force sensitive, which I guess is probably one of the things that bothered. Well, she might not have known. Tachum might not have known, but then later, Tenennial Joe's like, okay, we get that you don't like Jedi grandchildren. She's like, yeah, all right, that's okay then.
Then Isolder's like, yeah, we're joining the New Republic, and they don't. But they wait until the Galactic Alliance.
Yeah, they help the New Republic a lot of times, but yeah,
they become nice trade partners.
Yeah.
The Queen Mother's eyes narrowed. Oh, your aunts have committed their share of murders. They're every bit as dangerous as you believe. But Leia's a pacifist. I couldn't let you marry a pacifist. She'd be too weak to rule, don't you see? Tapes had a stronger military presence before the rise of the Empire, as I always advocated. We never would have fallen to the Empire. Mealy-mouthed pacifists and diplomats nearly ruined our realm. And then Isolder starts thinking like, oh, did you murder my brother?
She's like, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, that just kind of that's like swept under the rug, and
yeah,
that's Tachum.
Well, I mean, it pretty heavily suggests it because he was murdered. The guy who murdered his brother killed himself in jail, so she probably set that up.
Yeah. Like my last thing I wanted to talk about was just that Luke almost falls for a red-headed warrior woman, and we never see that happen again.
No, it was pretty unique to this.
Any last points for you before getting into the emails for this?
No, I think we covered all of it. I mean, yeah, let's talk about emails. Let's do our rankings, and let's find people go.
All right, but what about our emails?
All right,
So-
you want me to? Oh, aren't you gonna sing the song?
Do you want to do that now? I guess
Yeah.
I'll pull that up for anyone who wants to drop out for the emails. There was one that I got right as I was putting the notes together. The last email there from Jacob.
Okay, let me just
So,
pull them. Just a second.
It's all on the notes now, so we should be.
Yeah,
good.
my thing
Unless
just
someone.
Just a second, my thing just crashed. Okay, so I'll read them in order, I guess.
So we'll do the song now.
Okay,
Do you want to read this one or?
you should do it. You're much more interesting to listen to than me.
It's true. He's got his own planet, although it's kind of wild. Wookiees love him. Women love him. He's got a winning smile. Though he may seem cool and cocky, he's more sensitive than he seems. Han Solo, chorus sung in accompaniment with 3 women who all sound like Leia. Han Solo, what a man. Solo. He's every princess's dream.
Is that Christopher Walking?
Christopher Walking.
Walking. Sorry, in Star Wars mode.
Christopher Skywalking, yeah.
Yes. Was that what that was, though?
Yeah, sort of.
I don't want to talk about it.
We can move on now.
All right,
yeah.
well done, Corey.
You want to handle the first email then?
Yes.
While I recover?
So Neil says, "Hey guys, have been following along on your book club." Put that in quotes for some reason. Don't know why. Neil, what's up, buddy? I think it's great. It reminds me of high school for the books I've read and has gotten me back into the books I missed. Oh, that's great. I will say against your advice because I work and have 2 kids. I've been doing the audiobook route, but it's better than nothing. Agreed. Sometimes the audiobook sucks, but I totally understand what it's like. I'm sure Corey does too. Like if we weren't doing this as part of our job, we wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, it's a big commitment. That's why we try to like go through more point by point. So even if we don't have time to cover everything, we're 2.5 hours into this podcast.
You're getting the gist of it.
We try to make sure even if people don't have.
And I will say this audiobook covered basically everything, so you're pretty much good for this.
Yeah.
This was one of the books I missed when I was younger. But my question is, when you heard C-3PO talk about Han's lineage, did it not seem as if he was trying to canonize the plot of Spaceballs, minus the 4-inch cookie again. What do you think, Corey? I don't really remember that plot point.
It's been like 20 years since I've watched
Spaceballs.
Yeah.
That's one of those movies I've only ever watched on TV.
Yeah, I think I taped it back when that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like I put an actual tape in my VCR
Yeah, I remember.
when it was playing on TV, and I recorded it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it a couple times, but it was like so long ago now.
Maybe we'll do a thing for it sometime.
That would make sense.
Anyway, a note about Krytos. This has bothered me since the first time I read Krytos back in the day. I know it's not your guys', but the idea of a prison being upside down seemed to be the biggest MacGuffin ever to MacGuffin. If it is upside down within the ship, it doesn't matter which way Korn would dig. Eventually, he would hit the bulkhead. Again, I'm an audiobook guy, so if it explains it in that way, that's cool. By the way, you're right. You look different than what I expected. Then I realized, okay. Yeah, I mean, that is right, I guess. No matter which way you dig in the... he's talking about in the Lusankia, how it's like upside down.
I think it was... they were in the hangar for the digging.
Oh, so it would have hit...
So I think they were technically outside.
The outside hull?
That's at least the impression I got from it. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but I think that's what it was. And yeah, if anyone does have any questions they want to put in the chat while we're doing this, that'd be what we do right after. So,
next one's from Callum. Callum, do you want me to read this or do you want to?
This is just a few points for us. So, no real question here, but Callum says, whenever Zinj is mentioned, all I can think about is Dan DeVito in a Grand Admiral's uniform with a funny mustache. So that's a good point. And congrats to Eck for getting married. Also,
thank you very much.
After all this, Han is going to have an awkward time explaining to his kids that he had to kidnap their mother to get her to marry him.
Yep.
Which, as we know, kidnapping is the new dating. So,
and the solo children are very familiar with being kidnapped anyway, so they probably
they spend most of their time kidnapped.
Yeah,
What could I best?
and not with their parents. So thank you, Callum, for that email. Next up, we have Jacob. He says, "Hey, just realized you guys are doing Tapcaf tonight, so I thought I'd try to question. How does this Dathomir rate compare to the Dathomir from the Clone Wars? Can you rectify the differences, or do you view them as completely separate? One thing I found interesting was a couple of mention of red sandstone and far-off deserts, which could be seen as where Talzin's clan comes from. Dathomir is certainly like a lot more. It's like a lot less of a nuanced evil in the Clone Wars. Like it's just like." It's funny too because I just played Fallen Order, and one of the planets in that game is Dathomir. And when I played it, I was literally reading Courtship that day, so I was like, "This is kind of weird." But yeah, Dathomir and I guess you can kind of reconcile them to a degree, but I kind of read Dathomir in this as like a kind of like an Earth-like planet. Dathomir in the Clone Wars is like a lot more overtly evil, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it just gives more prominence to the Night Sisters.
Yeah.
And the same thing kind of happens in Plagueis, where that
true.
is a bit closer to the Clone Wars stuff. But
I forget, is he on Dathomir when that happened? When he gets Maul? Because he's in a city, right?
I don't know that it's explicitly said to be Dathomir, but I think it was cleared up later as being Dathomir. But
it's kind of weird.
I think it can all still work about as well as anything else that's depicted multiple times.
Anything that's been that old and that has been brought into canon. Besides Coruscant. Coruscant was perfect besides that.
The timeline can be a bit weird, and how they split off may change a bit, but I don't think it's like anything that's really too important. The Night Sisters have a bit of a longer history than that too, because there was a recent thing that someone put on Twitter. I don't think it was Pablo Hidalgo, but they talked about some of how they were originally introduced and then how it got developed.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was pretty interesting, and so the depictions of them definitely evolved over time, and depending
wasn't
on
it actually Galaxies, the game that kind of helped with the Clone Wars depiction? Or am I imagining that?
Yeah, because it like started with retconning some of the stuff from like Ewoks.
Yeah,
I think Ewoks are Holiday Special.
Yeah,
which then kind of got combined with other stuff in maybe in Marvel as well, Marvel Comics. But yeah, it definitely gets depicted a few different ways.
Yeah,
and
Dathomir
Clone Wars is far from the first thing to do that. So
yeah, in Star Wars Galaxies it's purple, and then they describe it as purple a few times in this book too, purple or blue. Yeah, but I believe I've seen, because I think Gethzarian is in Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah, that's where the weird picture of her is from.
Right, and doesn't she have kind of a like the headdress? It's kind of similar to what the Night Witches have, isn't it? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fairly pointy, but she got more of like an ornate dress in that, I think, than like the hides and skins that.
And we don't get like the zombies or anything in this. The Night Brothers aren't really in it. So it's pretty different. But it seems like, I mean, with a lot of things, like George most likely just liked the idea of the planet, and beyond that, probably didn't really care whether it matched the EU. He kind of probably just, which he did with like a lot of things.
But no, if George had kept Star Wars, then the sequel trilogy would have been based on Legends.
Yes.
How dare you suggest otherwise?
Yeah. I'm sure I think George actually wanted to do a Swarm War.
Yeah. George does a Swarm War as my favorite Star Wars.
George does a Swarm War. Yeah, that was right after the Mara prequel. He hated her.
Yeah.
But I think besides for that, let's just do our book rankings. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, it's getting fairly late.
I'll go first.
Sure.
I really enjoyed this book, like a lot. Really stupid, but super enjoyable, especially because it's like pure fantasy, unlike any others. For me, I am putting it under Wraith Squadron, above Solo Command. So
I thought you were going to put it higher than that, based on that.
I thought I was
there.
too. You know what? Yeah, I think I will. I'll put it above. I'll put it because I don't want to have it above the entire Wraith Squadron series, so I'll put it under Iron Fist. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Corey? Give me your thoughts on the book too, because I already talked about mine. I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I kind of went over what I thought it did well, which is like matching the tone of the original trilogy. So, as a Star Wars, like it's a really good Star Wars book,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably something you could recommend to people who are just getting into the expanded universe, kind of the same way we talked about Truce at Bakura in that way.
Right. Yeah.
But as far as like where I'd put it and how much I like ranking it just based on my own personal enjoyment, which is more or less what this is.
Definitely.
I would probably, so right now I guess we should probably mention like what that puts our rankings at. So now Justin's looks like 10th Kratos Trap, 9th Truce at Bakura, 8th Solo Command, 7th Wraith Squadron, 6th Courtship of Princess Leia, 5's Iron Fist, 4's Wedge's Gamble, Back to War, Rogue Squadron, and then Plagueis first. Mine is currently Kratos last, Truce of Bakura, Wedge's Gamble, Solo Command, Rogue Squadron, Back to War, Wraith Squadron, Iron Fist, Plagueis. I'm probably going to put it below Wedge's Gamble.
Mm.
So
that's
that'd
just
put it as my...
Or 8th, yeah.
As my 8th.
So 2.
So above Truce of Bakura and Kratos Trap.
It's tough because the X-Wing books are all kind of starting to meld together for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna need to read summaries of them all again, just so like I can remember which is which when I'm ranking. But yeah, I think I'm happy with that.
Yeah, like I enjoyed it.
Yep.
The dialogue was one of the things that kind of
it was very simplistic.
Like it's melodramatic.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
But a lot of times it's like so informal, it's kind of odd. Like the Queen Mother will be like, well, we are going to go get him, or like, well, that's a bad example, but like, just like she talks very, very simply and very informally. Like, it's hard to explain, but yeah, but yeah, good book. Next week we're doing, next episode we are doing book 1 of the MedStar Duel, right?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing MedStar, and then I think we're going to be going to the Thrawn trilogy after that.
Right.
So the next episode will be on the Halloween. Are we doing that? I assume you're going to be.
Yeah, I'll be doing
rental stuff,
spooky stuff. We'll figure it out. It'll either be the 30th. Oh, let's say the 1st. Let's say the Friday.
Want to do it on Friday?
Yeah,
that
tentatively, or we could do it next week if you wanted. Maybe.
So the MedStar books are actually fairly short. Okay. They're 300 pages as opposed to like 400, which this was.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have a problem with doing it next week and then starting the every other from that.
Cool. Let's do that. 24th then.
All right. So that next episode will be on Eckhart's Ladder. There are links to all of his channel. It's saying it'll be on Eckhart's Ladder just sounds weird because it'll be on Eckhart's Ladder's ladder.
It's on my Rancor.
God. I'm glad the episode's over now.
Me too.
Yeah, the next episode will be on Eckhart's Ladder.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
See you guys next time.